We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights. Such government and to provide new guards for their future security. The world is waking up, and this is the tipping point.
Ladies and gentlemen, Scott McKay coming to you live here from Dallas, Texas. We got a hell of a lineup for you tonight. I'll tell you something. You guys be so proud of me because I actually was early tonight. This is kind of how it was going. I was away from home yesterday, came back in town. Oh, guess what? Get a load of this. I take off yesterday. I'm heading out to Weatherford to check on Cinderella, go see what's been going on at the ranch. Pull into a gas station out there near the RV park, and I'm on the phone as always, distracted as always. And here I am. I switch back and forth between vehicles. Sometimes I'll drive one that takes gas, the other one takes diesel. My pickup truck takes diesel. I'm on the phone talking to my buddy Peter Baird, and we're just going at it. And I'm just, going through the process. Yeah. And I even thought for a second, okay, I always get the higher grade gasoline in my vehicles. And I sort of stumbled. I'm like, oh yeah, in the truck I take 93. So I'm pumping gasoline into a diesel engine. And it's running. So after about 3 gallons, I freaked out. I was like, holy Mary, Mother of God. Shut the truck down, had to have a flatbed pick it up, take it over to my buddy's shop and drain that tank and, make sure I didn't just destroy this thing. It cost me $25,000. Anyways, get back in town. I'm out throwing tomahawk the ball in a park right up the street. Got plenty of time to get ready for the show. Walk in the house. 6:41 p.m. I got 19 minutes to get it together. It's like, holy shit. So I turned into a missile. He's already a furry missile. And I'm sliding into home base here. Nearly cut my tongue off. It was sticking out. My teeth was out. Hit my chin on home plate. Lisa goes, boy, you're really early tonight. And I'm like, what do you mean? I look at my clock right here. 6:04 p.m. We start at 7 o'clock here. I got Kerry, Cassidy in motion. Last second, here she comes, sliding into home plate beside me. And we're like, oh, we're an hour early. I'm like, this is a Patriot Street Fighter operation. Pure chaos. Anyways, we get a lot done. And this is how much I got done. I picked up the phone literally 15 minutes before the show was to start. And I said, hey, Kerry, what are you doing? She goes, what do you think I'm doing? And I'm like, I don't know, sunbathing or something. And she just laughs, says, well, I'm sitting here doing what I always do. All caught up on all the current events going on in the world. Therefore, I popped a question. I said, how would you like to come on tonight? Special guest, tell the world that what's going on in the state of war here in the world. So we have tonight, welcome to the Tipping Point radio show / hybrid live stream here on Rumble. Right in front of you right now is Kerry Cassidy, ProjectCamelotPortal.com, a person who has been on these front lines literally for decades, pushing the envelope when envelopes didn't even exist, taking wild chances in the world, bringing out the secret space program, whistleblowers, military contacts all over the world. and basically stirring up. Hold on, I got to give Tomahawk his bone. I got some real cow bones here. This is to keep him busy tonight. Watch this guy go nuts. Here you are. Look at that, buddy. What do you think? What do you think? You want your bone? Come on, get your bone. Get your bone. You want the bone? Anyways, that'll keep him busy for 10 minutes. So that was a rabbit I just chased. Let's get right to Kerry Cassidy. Kerry Cassidy, great to have you here. The world knows you're the consummate badass staring down the barrel of that gun for decades and pissing off so many people, which makes you an American hero and icon. And you always stir up a hell of a conversation here on this channel, in a chat room, and after the show's over for like the following week. So I am very excited to find out what's going on from your perspective in this battle for Earth. How the hell have you been? That's my first question.
Oh, I'm good. How are you, Scott?
Well, I'm fantastic, but I'll get better. Don't feel too bad for me.
All right, I won't. Okay, well, very happy to be here. It's a crazy, crazy world, and just keeps getting more wild every day, I think. And so I'm trying to catch up with everything and making some trouble out there, planning some trouble, and sending out messages that are driving people crazy. And posting stuff on my Telegram really all day long, every day, and on and off. And especially my big hours of operation are from about 3 in the morning until 5 or 6 a.m.
Is that because that's the only time you can find any peace in your day and get stuff
Well,
done?
kind of. It's just a time when I feel like the energy out there is quieted down, and that it's kind of like me and God and the world. And so
Mhm.
I get downloads and whatnot. And if it just something comes upon me, and then I just start writing in, you know, and that sort of thing. So if you like that kind of beyond midnight kind of mentality, then I think, you'd like my Telegram a lot. So yeah, I just question reality constantly. So just pick a topic and we can go for it.
Let's get into for the second here, like the esoteric side, the whole realm of this non-reality that we have been programmed to believe is a reality. I mean, I had a cruise with Sasha Stone. We took about 50 people over the Mediterranean, different countries, and I think the most profound impact for me, for certain reasons, was in Egypt, Cyprus, Greece, or Turkey. Amazing places. I didn't need to get off the boat because I have an injury. And but what we learned from Dave Emery, of course, Sash always, and I was one of the speakers. Margot Anand was one of the speakers, and it truly was an epic cruise. And we had basically seminars and had a room the whole trip there, and just what we learned. And even from my point of view, even having known Sasha for the last 4 years, it expanded my horizons in the spiritual realm beyond what I even imagined. So it's transformational. How do you see, and you can just comment and take this wherever you want and, just do you, but how do you see us? Two questions, actually. How the hell did they do this? How did they create this reality that we call reality that's completely false? I used to hear people say this all the time. It's a false reality, doesn't exist. How did we manifest this reality? Because I see us where we should be living on the planet in an avatar-like sense, the movie itself, living with nature, with the ecosystem, not on it, on with the land instead of on it, and in conjunction with everything else in a symbiotic relationship, which I believe is the world of Eden anyways. But yet we've got this world where it's depravity, it's murder, it's greed, it's deception, it's everything that this has become. How did this thing get built to this way? And how do we get out of this? How do we get out of this dream spell so people realize, number one, we can manifest whatever we want. Christ was here to teach us that. And this was all manifested by us through their satanic English language and all the symbolism, all that bullshit. And okay, how do we get out of it? So the depth of how we got here and the idea of how we get out of this to manifest the reality that resembles our spiritual power as the beings that we truly are. And you can take that in any direction, because anything you ever say is incredible to my audience.
Okay, well, thank you, Scott. I appreciate your confidence in what I'm going to say. But, the way I look at it is a little bit maybe turning it's on its head. So, as far as I'm concerned, we came here to learn how to be warriors and to get to know ourselves, both light and dark sides, thoroughly.
Mhm.
And so that's what it's really all about. We didn't come here to eat bonbons and live under palm trees, although some of us do. But you know what I'm saying? In other words, I really think that, and I said this on stage the other day. I was speaking at a conference in New York and then one in Florida, and I might have said it in both places. But at any rate, what do you think the creator wants? Do you think the creator wants a bunch of namby-pamby kiss asses that kiss the ground, worship him, does all kind of stupid shit with their asses in the air? What is the creator really about? And why do we call it the creator? And why are we a reflection of the creator? Well, the creator wants to see, you stand shoulder to shoulder, if possible at all, doesn't matter. You're supposed to reach for the highest goal, okay, the highest star. And so what this is like, in a way, the earth is kind of a boot camp. It's a boot camp for understanding where the lies exist in the universe and the multiverse, and where the deception exists, and to learn to fight and be strong, and to raise our children to do the same thing. We're not supposed to be, worshiping is like the worst thing as far as I'm concerned. I know this is might go against your audience and all that kind of thing, but really think about
I'm
it
with you.
logically. Please, people, think about, what does the creator want? Does he want kiss asses, or she? I'm not kidding. Because if I was the creator, I wouldn't want a bunch of worshiping kiss asses who say yes to me all the time, who beg me, prayers, begging. Now I'm of the Jim Morrison philosophy. You cannot petition the Lord with prayer. Now I know this is going to go against everyone, including 107, but that's
Okay.
their deal. They want to do that. That's
Mhm.
nice. That's their thing. Okay. But as far as I'm concerned, that's not my relationship with the creator. My relationship with the creator is, I'm standing up. If he wants to show me the good, he wants to show me the evil, then I'm going to stand up and I'm going to choose the right path. That's what he wants, or she wants, as far as I'm concerned. Fighters, warriors, standing up for the weak, standing up for,
Mhm.
what's right. That's what it's all about.
I love you said that, and this does not defy the what should I say? I'll say the belief systems of the programming of religion itself. And I go up against it all the time. I've been on big church stages, 5,000 6,000 people. We're Awaken America tour, saying this with pastors in the front row. Religion's the worst thing that ever happened to humanity. A guy said something to me, Kerry. I can't remember his name. He's a good guy from North Carolina. I can't remember his name right now. He said it to me 6 7 years ago. He says, Scott, the problem, one of the big problems with us, with human beings on this planet, is that we think we're human beings having a spiritual experience. He said, when reality, the reality is we are spiritual beings having a human experience, one of
Exactly.
many thousands or millions that and that had such a profound impact on me. And like you, I've been able to navigate this narrative between what we've been programmed to believe. It never ever defies anything Christ lived for and what he did. And
Well,
Christ
he
didn't just
knocked
sit
down
around praying.
the tables, in the
Yes,
square.
that's
He
my point.
wasn't,
You,
he
yes.
had, he was brave. He was all about getting, he says, I bring a sword, not a whatever else. In other words, the point of the sword is the symbol of deciding what's right and what's wrong. That's discernment. That's the sword. Okay. The sword is your mind, not the one that lives in a little skull like this, but your higher mind, your mind that is in concert with the creator and Christ and so on. I know this is radical, but as far as I'm concerned, Christ is our brother. He's not our father. The father of everything, including Christ, is the creator. Then you get Christ, and yes, he's an avatar, a great leader, etc. But he was not a kiss ass. He was not a namby-pamby worshiper. Okay. He said, as I do, you shall do as more. Right. So I know I'm paraphrasing.
Mhm.
Okay. But the point is clear. Right. So stand up. Don't take no for an answer. Ask for the world and get the world. You're going to have to make change in order for this place. In a sense, you could just think, okay, we're spirits, we're souls, we're traveling around in outer space, and we're trying to decide what game do we want to play, what game do we want to, learn the most from. It's kind of an easy trial, right? Earth, because Earth is the
Mhm.
most challenging. So that's what you come here for. You come here for the challenges. And when you give yourself a certain kind of challenge, whether it be, some block mentality, or whether you have different kinds of gifts, like, being psychic or being more of a precog than most humans around you, and having very unique children coming in right now with all their amazing gifts. That's what you want.
Mhm.
You want everyone to be the best they can be as who they are. Okay, because we are
Mhm.
all flames within this much larger game. And I think we need to stand up for who we are. So that's where I'm coming from. All right. And I don't believe that we should view each other like, even when you come across a person who's, I don't know, paraplegic or whatever they happen to look like, or be blind or whatever it is. That's their challenges. They put them there. Okay. They accepted those challenges coming in. That's my
Mhm.
view. Okay. You don't have to agree with it.
Mhm.
And I believe that is to make them stronger in those areas. Okay. And so what I see this all the time, I see someone who had an obstacle, who overcame that obstacle to be able to be normal, right? And then what I see is a person who has special skills they developed as a result of that they would never have developed if they didn't start out with a crutch, right? So
Right.
that's our challenge, is to be, I hate to sound like a recruitment for the Army or Navy or whatever. Be the best you can be. Really. That's, I think, the challenge. Not to kiss ass, not to worship. God, look, God is, if a God is a God, you don't need no worship, okay?
Mhm.
They don't see you as sinners. You're not sinners when you come in. That's not what it's about. More lies,
Mhm.
okay? That's an Illuminati overlay on the Bible, what the Bible was supposed to be. And instead the New World Order, even back then, came in and twisted the words of Christ, twisted your idea, made you want to beg Christ to help you, beg God to help you, all that kind of thing. That's not what it's about. Help yourself, okay? Develop the strength
Mhm.
so that you can help others, so that you can free humanity. And this is set up as a slave system. I mean, it's obvious. So you need to rebel. You need to use your rebel gene, which is what I wrote in my book title, right?
Mhm.
And stand up. And that's the story. Next
I love
question.
it. I got a comment. I love it. I love it. I love it. You're saying the same things I've been saying for the last 5 years. And the
Excellent.
reality is this: I don't like. I still go. I don't go to church often. When I do, it's typically Pastor Bob's Joyce in Benton, Arkansas. That's I consider him my pastor, not my church. Because here's a guy who, in my opinion, here is a man in angelic form by his life itself. But not only that, he says the same thing. Look, God is inside of you. You got to go inside of you. That's where God is. He said that the first time, walked over and looked right down at me. I was sitting beside Jean Ho up front against the side of the wall, and he walked over, and my assistant was with me. She was saying, he was talking directly to you. He's looking right at you. She said, the reason is this is what you've been telling us for all these years. That's where you find your creator is inside of you. So that being true, number one. Number two, Christ was a rebel. Christ was I tell my audience, a forking badass. he took on the power structure, which was the religious order, doing what? The same terrible shit we see the religious order doing on this planet.
Right.
Doesn't mean that our pastors in the country are bad people. And because they say the term worship in, I don't care if they say that. I know what they mean. And the fact is, they are good people in a high vibration who want to do good on this planet. I want to be around them. That's why I
I
live in the
hope
Bible Belt here in Texas. I love it. I love it. Just because they don't have it, we don't have it all right. It's the intent with which they do it is what matters most. They can discover their own path. And you're right. Somebody that's a quadriplegic or injured or whatever, we chose this. I went through, and I still do every day. I mean, I'm always have under the threats of these injuries that I live with. I have to have special things done with some of the breakdown of the bones in the bad side. Guess what? It sucks. It's limiting, and it's a challenge, and it has altered the course of my whole life for the better. Because once you go through things like that and you're stripped of everything, you're trapped in a broken hall. People are moving away from you because they don't want to look at the tragedy. They don't want to be part of it, don't want to help, don't want to think about it, take on the burden, all those things. Everybody went away. I mean, virtually everybody went away in my world. It was the best thing for me because now I had to rely on just me, homeless, crippled, penniless, 8 months after this crash. And I had to figure it out. And it was the most
right.
important thing that ever happened to me because it did what? It made me not give a shit about anything else, including what anybody thought about what I did. And that's when I finally unleashed myself. And when I unleashed myself, on comes Tipping Point, this radio show, on comes Patriot Street Fighter. And for the first time, I'm actually delivering my own victory for humanity. Without all that, I don't think it would have happened. I'd have been too suave, too debonair, too polished, trying to be a politician, talk like one, trying to move in that direction. So you're dead right on that. Now, how can you have? I'm going to have Leo Zagami on here next week, former Illuminati, who's been exposing all this to how the Illuminati has accomplished this and captured the whole world by creating this dream spell. Can you give me your viewpoint on that? How far back? What did they start to do? Maybe the architecture that they layered to get us to believe in their bullshit and stay, like you said, these limited sheep looking for a handout instead of expanding who Christ told us we are. And the words are, "These works you will do, and even greater than I." How the hell they
Absolutely.
accomplish this?
Well, I believe I'm one of the first to bring Leo Zagami to the public. So I interviewed
Yeah.
him many years ago. Uh, our car was parked at Milan Airport, and we flew to Norway, where he happened to be living at the time, and interviewed him in person. So yes, I knew Leo going way back. He's gone through. He's been possessed. Okay, I think he would admit that. And he also was given a remit to go onto the light side, which is one of the things the Illuminati does to their people, and pretend to be light. Well, I guess he got sucked into being light because now he's working very hard for the light. But this is the
Mhm.
kind of thing that was going on. But his family was threatened. He was threatened. It's not an easy road, okay? And he's come through it. So congratulations to him. For some reason, someone told him I was CIA, which is laughable, but he believed that. I mean, you can't always be the psychic that you want to be, okay? Sometimes you just don't get it right. But nonetheless, I respect him. I respect all his writing and his books, and, brilliant guy for sure. So, what is it you're kind of asking me in a more specific way? But, I respect him. I admire what he's done with his life and the choices he had to make.
Okay, and so if you take it back, and if your studies have gone clear back into those times when they started laying the foundation of the capture of the human soul in the human spiritual realm, like on the planet, like how do they? I mean, we know education primarily the clergy, the religious order was the ones who laid out the education for us, and it was
Well,
primarily
let
spiritual.
me just slow you down a little bit there because, from my point of view, and I do get, I got a lot of downloads and information directly to me once I hooked up with Ashiana Dean and her group, and I went to India with them. I was getting downloads, proof that I was getting downloads during that trip directly.
Mhm.
And so she would say something, and I would have already gotten it before she said it, that kind of thing. So when I realized that I was getting that, and I read both books and I've read them several times. So they're very deep and they talk about the history of humanity here on Earth and off planet. So all the races that have been coming to this planet for eons and actually genetically re-engineering us, every group coming here trying to manipulate our genome. And COVID was the last effort on that score, by the way, in case you don't know that. So the thing is that we're looking at a situation where you want to say you're a spirit, you're a soul, you decide to incarnate on earth, as I said. And then what happens? You're just hit. It's like a barrage of trying to keep you down, trying to stop the natural light that you reflect from coming out. So it's interesting because the Illuminati know the story. They know that this, our body, our everything is the vessel. Okay, we are the vessel. Now, what the Illuminati do with a child is they beat them seriously and they torture them until their light starts to shine out of their vessel. That's the response to negative reinforcement, I guess you call it. So understanding that's how they do it. They've chosen a negative path, and that's what they believe will bring them to enlightenment. Okay. And the whole game, as far as I'm concerned, here on planet Earth is enlightenment. That's it. That's the only game in town. So you either are
Mm.
getting there, you're getting more enlightened every day you're here, or less, right? You're getting lighter, more part of the light, which we come from the light, we return to the light, right? So
Mhm.
understanding that you didn't come here and then suddenly get sort of coddled and whatever you think. I mean, or whatever your audience might think or individuals might think. In other words, this was going to be a challenge, and that's why a lot of times they call it a school. Um, Whether it's a school, whether it's a game, whether whatever, it doesn't matter. You can call it whatever you want. You can call it, basically an AI, facility or whatever. In other words, it's you that's being challenged. You, your soul, your spirit, from day one when you hit the ground. Okay. So that's what it's about. It's about coming to this place. And what it's all about is you learning that you are the light. So, as a soul, if you choose a certain path, you will choose a path, if you're smart, that will push you down the path. You need to wake up in a way. It's all about waking up, right? And so if you think torture is the way to go, if you think, now I don't like it, I'm not advocating it. I'm just saying this is how it is. All right. So from my point of view, when I look at somebody, whether it's Kathy O'Brien or other people or children that are being tortured, etc. What is happening there? Why would the creator put people in that position? Let's look at it. Well, it's obvious because if you don't die, if you're eternal, you need to wake up to the fact that you're eternal. So every time you die, you get recognition that, yeah,
Mm.
hello, I'm still here, right?
Mm.
And so I mean, I've told this story before and I don't want to be boring, but when my mother passed on, she had cancer. I kept telling her, look, mom, I'm not going to cry when you die because you're not going to really die, blah, blah, blah. Because I've always been like this. And she would laugh at me and she'd say, oh, shut up, Kerry. And then I said, then she died. And right after she died, I had this dream that she was laying in a coffin, like laying down. And I went up to her and I reached my hand out and I just pulled her up. Right. Okay. She goes, Carrie, how did you do that? In her exact word, exact tonality, everything. And I just laughed and said, Mom, it was easy, because you don't die. You just don't die. I mean, in a sense,
Mm.
that's like the worst thing you could know, but it's true. So you cannot be killed. Now, when you know that, then I just say, fucking bring it on because I am going to come back. If I
I love it.
you can kill me, and I'll prove that you didn't kill me. So in some
Mhm.
ways, humans are kind of like, I don't know whether we get brain dead when we go off planet and die, do this thing called die, or whatever we do, but they try to have us lose our memory. So we lose the memory of our incredible majesty and who we really are. So waking up to who we really are is what you do your whole life. You have challenges that come along and you act one way or you act another. You know, you bend for the challenge, or you don't get broke and you stand up to it, right? So again,
Mhm.
this is what's happening, okay? And I believe that there are, tons. We know that scientists say billions of Earth-like planets, and there are billions of humanoid races everywhere. Like, it's
Mhm.
amazing. So when you know that, when you don't have this stupid microscopic view of life that says, "Oh, we're the only ones that God loves." I hate that shit. I mean, it's such
Or
bullshit.
God, or
I
the
watch
only humans are beings. Yeah, the only humans are beings. The only beings that were ever created were just us. Like that's it. Like that. So our creator is so majestic
All
that
I'm
he
saying is
limits himself
ego,
that
right?
much.
Ego. Like, you're gonna die with
Mhm.
ego being your big win on planet Earth. I mean, fuck that shit.
That's
I mean,
great.
let me just
I
tell
love,
you, you know, we
I love you, Kerry. That's why I love bringing you on. Fuck that shit.
well, this is
I
what
love it.
inspires me. So, I'm like, look, I've had hard times in my life, but somehow I got through. And I do believe there are, light beings that help us. I saw light beings all the time during the time when I was in maybe the most danger in my life, when I was, I just moved back to Hollywood from New York. I didn't have any money. I had to get a job and all that kind of thing. And, my father died when I was 17. So I didn't have like a paternal person to take care of me. Okay. So maybe that helped me be more of myself. But I was always a rebel. I always talked back to my parents. I talked back to my teachers. That's what I did, and so I just think that we need to wake up. We need to wake each other up, and we need to keep doing it, because some people, they get inspiration for a little while, and then sometimes it gets codified in their brain, and their brain kind of freezes up. I think a lot of people that get into religion might see the good side at the beginning, that they're actually reading what they think is the words of Christ and all of that nonsense. And then they actually, it gets put like a helmet on your head, and it never breaks away until you break it away, right? So that's programming. Programming is just taking something on, not further thinking about it, and not trying to break on through. So again, it's really up to us to see the real truth. And I think that we have many opportunities to become the heroes of our own lives. And I think that certain people who are teaching all this Bible shit have just got to get over it and move on. That's my
Yeah,
point of view.
look, I agree 100%. Again, I ruffle the feathers of my Christian brothers and sisters, but it's not because I want them to be upset with me. And whether they are or not, I don't know, because I'm still treated the same way among the circle of friends I have. But when I go to church with them, or I'm around them, I mean, I got close friends, Chris Bergard, Pastor Dave Scarlett, people that I love, we see things a little differently, but we still have friendships. We still go on each other's shows. I don't draw these stark lines, between the way we think. Just speak a certain language that is acquiescent to how they see things from my point of view version. Not looking to be punching away at people. We all have the right to have our opinion, and we are all in an ascension track to where we are at that time. It's like none of us are right completely. You and I'm sure we're wrong on many things, but we're more right than we be, and we keep finding more information that makes us more and more right as we continue this ascension process. And I don't have a problem ever being wrong. I don't have a problem when my audience points out where I'm wrong. If they come at me like an ice hole, they're getting the tomahawk. If they say, Scott, I think there's something you should know. You said this, but here's what I found, and they lay it out. I'm like, always nice reply. Thanks so much for letting me know that. I had no idea, and I'm going to look into it, as opposed to, you don't know what you're talking about, and they start that bullshit. You're getting the tomahawk. The one thing in life I do not accept from anybody at any time is unkindness toward other human beings. When I see that, it's a good thing I'm not Hannibal Lecter, because I'd be in, I'd be in prison all of my life, because that's how I see it. When people are rude or brutal or mean to other people, or humiliate them in public, or just downright shitty to other people, I won't even tolerate it. That's my, here's how I define character of people. All right. Your character to me is defined by how you treat others. Do you notice the janitor? Do you know the person? I walk into a bathroom and somebody's in there cleaning. I always say to them, thank you for doing what you do, because nobody really gives a shit about it until, no pun intended, nobody gives a shit about it until it's not done. And then everybody now notices something like that. So thanks for doing the hard work. I love doing that for people. I like making sure that the people that most people don't even notice, I notice all of them, and I always let them know how much they count. That's just the kindness of spirit. And that's what I want to project into this world on anybody and everybody. And as the problem I have with the Christian world and the Christian mindset is, I watch the vast majority of my friends and people I know are Christians, but I watch them treat other people like shit, or they say this or they say that. I'm like, yeah, I wonder if Christ would behave that way toward that person. You can make all the excuses in the world, all the excuses, but I don't have patience for it. Cut the bullshit. Wonder how Christ would behave in this situation. It's like calling people out on this bullshit. And in fact, there's this, I'm trying to think of the term. There's this air of superiority I find with these people who are, they consider themselves very religious, following the Bible. And then I watch the other bullshit they do. You just erased everything about all your intentions. Let's stop the nonsense and try to dig deep, deep, deep into Christ's soul, his life, the truth of it, find it, stop believing their bullshit, and become the majesty that he was showing us we could all become. Yeah, that should be our primary focus. But I could pontificate further endlessly. I don't want to do that to my audience. I want to save them from that. But I want to get to, let's go over into the state of war on this planet, where we are in the universe, metaverse right now,
Okay,
with
so let me talk
age of,
about that a little bit. Did you ever hear the poet William Blake?
yes,
William
most
Blake.
people I think have.
Okay, he was a
Mhm.
wonderful poet. I forget what, either 18th century or whenever he was around. So one of the sayings that he had was, "The lion should not lay down with the lamb." Okay, and so
Mhm.
what was he saying? And this is what I get, is a lot of people misunderstand what's actually being said. And what we're talking
Mhm.
about is the idea that you don't actually step down and become less than, show less of your light because you're faced with somebody who is more vulnerable or weak, or whatever you want to say. In other words, the
Mhm.
lion is a majestic creature, and the lion needs to be true to itself, and the lamb needs to be true to itself. And both are going to learn from each other. Okay. So I don't go through life thinking that pity and I don't know, kissing ass is actually the way to treat my fellow humans. What that is actually doing is putting them down. I have this sort of special, thing that bothers me when people do this, which is they say that other people can't handle the truth, but they can't. And in MAGA, there's a lot of those kind of people. Okay. And that is a condescending, superior attitude to your fellow human. Okay. And that is wrong in my eyes. Okay. They say, oh no, you're hurting them by telling them the truth. You couldn't be more wrong. What we're here for is to learn the truth. That's like why Christ said, the truth shall set you free. If you withhold the truth, and I'm talking to the white hats right now about that too. If you withhold the truth, you withhold love. See, giving somebody the truth is giving them love. It may not look at it, it may not look like it at first, okay? But if you
Mhm.
withhold the truth, you are withholding love. You're also withholding who you are, your
Mhm.
insight, right? That's actually the worst thing. That's a crime as far as I'm concerned. So this is where I come to sort of go and counter some of these things that the White Hats do. That doesn't mean you have to tell them your military secrets and your operations and all that. What it means is, why don't my fellow humans really know anything about what the White Hats have done? Nothing. Like, if you're not a MAGA person and you haven't been listening to 107 for, I don't know, 8 years, then you don't, most people that I walk up to, they don't know who the fuck he is or what the fuck he has to say. Okay. Now you could say, oh, well, there's something wrong with them because they don't do enough research. That's their fault. Not necessarily. Okay. Maybe it's the fault of the White Hats. Why? Because everything is secret to them. I mean, not just their operations, but everything. And they're using a guy who's completely programmed, or at least ostensibly the character he plays is totally programmed by this religious mumbo jumbo. And he teaches it every single day of his life. So look, I am sorry to target him, but he is sort of put himself on a pedestal to be the target, to be the spokesperson for Trump and the rest of them, none of whom talk about what's real. Okay, what's really the truth. When, for example, I'll tell you a brave man, Kash Patel, said about Charlie Kirk, I'll see you in Valhalla. And he had a Secret Service guy standing right next to him, protecting him. He put his hand on his shoulder to say, I got you, guy. And I know you just dropped a bomb, but thank you very much. You understand what I'm saying? When someone like that tells you the real truth, even though they have to lie most of the time, that's a courageous act in my eyes. Okay. A courageous act. So now Juan does lots of courageous truth telling as well. And he's one of the only ones. And he's out there all by himself. I don't even know why they do this, okay? Because he's got us. We're doing our best out here, right? We're telling as much truth as we can find, but it is not easy. Right now, I'm talking to a military whistleblower. And as far as I can tell, like, I don't know, I can't read his mind necessarily, and I don't know what his, you know, understanding is of what went on during those 4 years when the Biden show was taking place. But most of America has no clue. So the outreach with the White Hats is sorely lacking. They've reached out to certain people, to the young who follow Q, for example, or to, the religious right of all people, right? The most programmed. And this reinforced their programming, unfortunately. They're not talking like we're talking, all right? He's not
Right.
talking like we're talking, okay, about the real Christ. You understand what I'm saying? I'm saying,
Yeah.
when you withhold the truth, when you lie to people's faces and you say, oh, Charlie Kirk is dead. He's in witness protection. If you didn't see the clues, I'm cluing you in, okay? You don't have to believe me. You need to do your own research. But there's video that shows it exactly as it is. It's a false fucking flag, okay? And all these namby-pamby idiots out there, they're attending this big funeral where Erica is playing with fire like some satanic witch. I mean, what the fuck is going on? Where are the white hats, the real white hats, and where are the dark hats? And they have changed. They seem most of the time to be camouflaged with each other. They're closer to each other than they are to us. It matters, okay? Thank God there is a Trump. Thank God Trump had the guts to be as outspoken as I am. We're both Geminis, by the way. You got to understand what we're talking about here. That's why they don't like him. They don't like him because he doesn't sit there and memorize a billion things. He's a brilliant man and he says it like it is, as best he can. Who cares whether he uses flowery language or not? It's real. Okay. And what we want is real. What we want is authentic. And we want to break through the lies. And if you can't break through your religious lies, you got to start there. Okay. You got to break through to the real creator, to what's really going on. And it's not about learning to read a Bible and memorize all your little lines and then quote it over and over again like a fucking automaton. Those are the drones, as far as I'm concerned. And that goes for, the other religions as well. They're all guilty of it. Humans that read a
Hmm.
book and then start spouting the book word for
Hmm.
word, like they don't have a brain in their head. This is not learning. That's not discernment. That's not bringing the sword to the fight. Okay. This is what we want. This is what we need. Even the people that are hearing me now and hate what I'm saying, they have to admit that's what we need. We need to break through the facade, the lies you've been taught since you were a child because it was teaching you how to be a slave. You get in
Hmm.
line everywhere. You line up like little cattle, and you think that's being Christian and polite, right?
Hmm.
Don't
Well,
fall.
I gotta back you up on these things. It feels like I'm straddling both sides of a fence when I do what I do or talk. And the reason I can do that is because I was there too, Kerry. Born again Christian at 14, studying divinity for 20 years, Proverbs and Psalms for decades,
Wow.
virtually every day, 300 days a year at least. Proverbs, man's relationship with man, and God's relationship with God. Psalms,
Oh
right? So,
God.
okay, that to me was
Absolutely.
like a roadmap to have an understanding. And so I never went around just quoted the Bible. I could refer back to these things. Like I'd say, look, I mean, I used to and I was 27, 25, 27 years old speaking in front of hundreds of thousands of people. And I talk about, you know, most people don't look at the whole picture. Men, is in Ephesians says, women should be submissive and obey their husbands. Right. And of course the men are like, hell yeah. And I'm like, and now I see all you guys, elbowing your wives, like saying, hell yeah, that's the way, listen, Scott McKay said it. And I'm like, all of you knuckleheads out there, continue to read. It says, and men, you need to love your wives as Christ loved the church. What did he do for what the church really is? What did he do? His very existence, he was crucified for the concept of the church, which is the spiritual reckoning that we all need. So you got to look at the whole landscape of those things. And I use that to make a point to guys like, you need to be nicer to her and treat her like the princess and the queen that she is. She gives life to your DNA, your offspring, and without that, you're just another guy trying to mount anything on earth. That's the truth. And so I can straddle both of those lines by saying, folks, if you think that what is in that book is all encompassing, and if we just follow every piece of it, that we're going to end up in the world of, whatever you want the world to be, heaven or whatever. And I'm like, so you think that's the game plan? Let me ask you this. Do you think you could find any of these kids in these underground military bases being tortured, gutted, living in cages big enough for a dog bent over like this endlessly until they die? Ask them if that works, because it sure as hell isn't working for them. And the problem is like you said it, Christ was a warrior. He was a physical, spiritual, and mental badass. He knew what these people were capable of, and he still flipped them off and said, don't listen to their bullshit. These people, this is the synagogue of Satan. I mean, think about going up against that power structure back then. You didn't have the internet to let the world know what they're going to do to you. He knew the brutality he was going to suffer, but he did it anyways. Why? He had to be true to himself. That was his ascension track. I mean, I know, believe me, I couldn't imagine what he had gone through, but I know when you were in grotesque, horrific pain like I was, coming out of that gravedigger crash, and I'm a grown man, physically big, strong, crying like a little boy every time they walked into my room because they were going to turn me, and my blood pressure would go sky high. My resting heart rate was 125, would go to nearly 200 every time they walked in because they're going to turn me over, and I would beg them, please hurry. And they would have nurses dropping tears from their eyes on my sheets. They felt so bad looking at this big, strong man begging him like a little boy. That pain forges you in fire you couldn't possibly imagine. But when you're going through that kind of pain, like now I can talk about it because it's compartmentalized. I don't suffer the trauma from it. If I did, I'd never talk about it. The thing of it is, people look at me and they talk about, I tell my story for a reason. I've told it so many times, not because I need to put myself on a pedestal. I'm trying to get through to people. I am your average lower middle class, small town America, grew up in Redneckville, USA, Joe Lunch Bucket, nobody, and coming from nowhere, and found a way to create some small impact in this world by doing what we do today. I survived all of that. But what it taught me was, and competitive bodybuilding taught me this too. I went from the weakest guy on my football team, rank ordered according to all the tests we did my sophomore year, to the national competitive bodybuilding stage. How the hell does that happen? And I always say, this is how I know there's something far beyond me that can deliver this kind of potential and power, because I know who I am. And I am not all that in a bag of donuts. I'm not all that. I travel the country, so people who put me on a pedestal, which happens every day, they approach me, they talk to me, and they walk away like, he's the nicest guy. He really ain't all that. That's exactly why I want him to meet me, so I can show them, look, there ain't much about me any different than you. I had a lady stand in a line for 3 hours on a hot summer day, 100 degrees in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, a 3-hour line just to do pictures and autographs and all that in the sun after the event, outdoors. We're outdoors. And she's a very well-to-do lady. Wish I would have got her name. You could tell she was very well-to-do, very sophisticated and elegant, dressed not for the occasion, above it. And she told me at the end of the day, she said, I just want to let you know, Scott, I kept moving to the back of the line because I wanted to be the last one to talk to you, because I just wanted a few minutes of your time. And here's what she says to me. She said, it was the most adorable thing. I've had a lot of compliments and they're so endearing, but this one specifically, I'll never forget. She said, she told me who she was. She said, Scott, and she wasn't bragging, but she's very connected in the high levels of politics in DC. She's very connected in the high levels of Hollywood in the entertainment industry. And she said, I only tell you that to tell you that I have never been starstruck in my whole life until right now. I started laughing. I just started laughing. I put my hand on her shoulder and I said, you're going to get over that in about 3 minutes flat. Trust me. And then we had a laugh about it. And the reality is this. My faith in people is so high in what they could achieve in this world, because I know where I came from. I know all the barriers and beatdowns life put upon me. And when the final beatdown was devastating and destroyed my entire life, it took me some time to catch my breath, learn to walk again. 5 years later, ride a motorcycle again, and 2.5 months later, get taken out in a massive hit and run. Downtown Dallas destroyed me again. And again, I had to make a second comeback. That makes me sound special. And I'm trying to tell the world, that's all bullshit. I mean, it sounds good. It flatters me, but it's bullshit. That's what we are, all from the same creator. We all have that power. And just like you said, you do this to the power structure. And I'm saying, look, I've been literally begging these assholes to shoot me for 5 years now. Right. If they do, I don't give a shit. It proves me right, number one. And number two, like you said, you think this is bad? Wait till I come back, or when I'm fighting from the ethereal realm, the weapons are going to be much worse. You don't want that ass beating. And plus, you get 22 million pissed off Patriot street fighters to deal with, taunting them. People think you're such a courageous badass. No, I'm not. I just know these people are milquetoast pussies. They've engineered a world where they don't have to face you directly. They create a tax system. They create a satanic language called the English language. They create the symbolism. They create an education system to reduce you to virtually nothing. They create a media worldwide to lie to you about every single thing on earth. They build massive government structures so when their little weak asses walk out and stand on the steps, they look so powerful because this massive building behind them. That's because they're insecure, milquetoast pussies. And they have to do that to make you sit back and think they're all so powerful. But when you jump up and say, you're a milquetoast pussy to this power structure, they don't know what to do. They've been programmed that if they just do this, you'll always bow down to them. And when you don't, they don't know what to do. They're reeling
let me
on
tell
their
you one thing about their thinking, though. So,
Mhm.
There's all different levels of Illuminati, of course, and of New World Order, and some really incredibly bad characters in there, and some super demonic, you name it. But the thing is that some of them actually realize that they're doing a service. They're doing a service to the light by
Mhm.
making your life miserable. That's how they think about it. It doesn't matter whether you like it or you don't like it. This is actually how they think about it. So some of them that know the real facts, okay, understand what they're under. They know what they're actually working for. And in the end, you're going to beat them. They know it's going to come one day or another. It's just the way it is. Why? Because the creator, the force, God, whatever you want to call it, will be in charge, will end up supreme. Okay. So those people are going to face that one day. And in a certain sense, they will spend time on the dark side on purpose to learn about that dynamic. They need to face the dark.
Mhm.
It's something everyone has to do. And eventually, you have to rise above it, you know? So
Mhm.
everyone has a lot of mixtures in them, right? And you need to find a balance. But the bottom line is that when this world appears to disappear, let's say, it will disappear into balance. It will not disappear where there's only light and no dark, because it is a system of balance. And within you, the dark can give you the strength to rise above and become more light. You understand? More light. You become more light by facing the dark rather than weak and unable to help yourself or anyone else. So it's like a really deep inner knowing and understanding, you know, what it is, what really frees humanity, what frees us, you know, for going elsewhere as spirit souls, for getting out of this game that you're in. And that's truth. That's understanding the real truth. So this is where we're at. That's it. If you don't understand the truth, you're going to have to come back and learn it again, and going to have to go through it over and over again. There's no free passes here. All right, as far as I'm concerned. And by the way, let's just bring this around to the three eye atlas. So there are people out there who prefer to kind of have a more, I don't know what you want to call it, airy fairy view of reality. And they're attributing, you know, they're coming in to give us some help with ascension. They're going to help us, you know, the helpers. Oh, that's
Mhm.
so great, right? I mean, it's just like the
Mhm.
V movie all over again, or the V series, right? They're going to kiss. See, this is the trouble. And this is also the trouble with Christianity and so called nice people, right? Where they're nice. They're so nice that you could throw up. They're so nice that they're sugar sweet, right? And they think they're godlike. It's opposite, you know? So what happens is Three Eye Atlas is being looked at as a savior. Aliens are being looked at as saviors. Okay. AI is being looked at as a way to get saved. I think that people need to be warned about this type of going down that mental track to where you are already bowing down to another god, to another, you know, force out there that you think is higher and better than you and going to teach you something, all that bullshit. No. Okay, it's got to come from you. You're not ascending through some, you know, AI machine that's coming in on our solar system right now. It doesn't matter what they say or do, and there's evidence that it is a machine, by the way, and that there are probably some beings attending. But there's a whole blackout on all the information around Three Eye Atlas, as well as what is called Lemon, and another sort of spacecraft called Swan. Now, Swan and Lemon are exhibiting uh, what you might say are indications of being actually portals, being openings into the other dimension, that if you go to them and through them, you're actually going to jump somewhere else. And there's another thing about Three Eye Atlas I want to talk about, which is people, Avi Loeb is kissing both sides. Okay. So that's a fact. Thank God he's saying anything. I mean, we just thank God for one scientist that will actually come up against the pack of liars out there and the pack of programmed. I mean, science is as programmed as religion right now, totally
Mm-hmm.
programmed. They're closed-minded. They don't see beyond their noses. They can't. They're the least spiritual people on the planet. Fact. I didn't say religious. They're religious. Their science is religion. Their religion is science. But what we're talking about here is that right now they put out lies in the mainstream, and Avi does it too. So now they're trying to say that Three Eye Atlas is like so old it could be billions of years old. Not that we haven't been visited every single day of our lives by UFOs, okay, that are the same thing. Craft, ships, okay, that come from other
Mm-hmm.
dimensions, that can jump through outer space. If Three Eye Atlas can't jump through hyperspace and go interstellar, then it's
It's
not
not that
worth
advanced.
your time. It's like old antiquated technology, but it would never have survived a hit by the CME coming from the sun that was probably orchestrated by the good ETs and Space Force, okay, to destroy it. And what did it do? It swallowed it. It took on board all the sun energy because that's what craft do. They get stronger when they go near the sun. They feed on it. So what you're looking at is not some antiquated, it might look old, but that's a facade. The technology is completely sophisticated. It's proven that by fighting back on the CME. So what we're looking at here is an effort to deceive humanity, as usual. And by the way, if it was that old, it would have to go on like a railroad track and have been coming here from billions and billions of years. Why would it do that? That's insane. It's a machine. They set it out there and it probably jumped to the edge of our solar system from God knows where. Do you understand what I'm saying? I mean, you got to turn
Mm-hmm.
everything you're hearing on its head. And that's why I think that that will bring you closer to the truth on what's really going on. But there was a leaked memo. I'm sure you heard about it. I assume you heard about it. We have feedback on this line, by the way. But anyway, and the memo, I could actually read it to you, but I can post it for you after the show if you'd like it, because I kept a copy of it. Okay. And it came out on
Yeah.
God Live Productions, whatever that website's called, but appears to be legitimate, at least so far. I haven't heard anyone able to say, oh, it's fake. And what it said was to the entire scientific community, intelligence agencies, you name it, they all got the same memo. The memo said, don't release any true information about Three Eye Atlas, period. And I'm on a news group with Richard C. Hoagland, who hasn't been able to do one of his shows that he used to do every weekend on Friday and on Saturday and Sunday night. And they basically kept his, technology so he can't go live. Whatever method most people use, I mean, you can go to Starbucks and go live. Okay. He should try that, by the way. But you know what I'm saying? In other words, they don't want the truth out. They don't want you to know what's real and what's not.
Mm-hmm.
This is what's happening. But you have to move beyond that. You have to think clearly and you have to
Mm-hmm.
question every damn thing that comes out of anyone's mouth. I don't care how friendly they act. I don't care how kiss ass they act. I don't care how Christian they act. Okay? That doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter. What matters is the truth. Okay. And we know there's a cover up. And there's indications of a cover up with Charlie Kirk. There's indications of a cover up with Three Eye Atlas. You name it, they're covering up the truth. It's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
And when they work really, really hard, like go out of their way, to act how sad they are over Charlie Kirk. I mean, it's just insane. Okay. It's bullshit. And some actress is playing, his wife. What's her name? And this is what's going on. Okay. people in the last 4 years before Trump came back into office on, from 2020 to 2025 or four, basically were watching mannequins on stage, right? In masks. And of course, they're Trump doubles. You're watching them as well. I mean, we know this. Okay. Why are they getting away with this? Because if people would just say the emperor has no clothes, it's a lie. Even the good guys are lying to your face. They think they have a
Mhm.
good reason and they're going to teach you a lesson. Like, who gave them the right to teach you a lesson? I didn't. Okay. I didn't give you
Mhm.
no right to teach me a lesson. So therefore, I'm going to see through your bullshit. So this is how it works. Okay. So I'm just saying, I'm just laying it on the line. We have to look at every single aspect of our lives. Why is Tina Peters still in prison when she should have been released
Exactly.
the Trump
Exactly.
took office? You understand?
I said that here. I said this here two
Trump
weeks ago,
able
Kerry. I'm
to
like, I'm
release
bringing up the
other
same.
people? Is Trump able to tell it like it is? Okay. The reason Epstein files have not come forward is not because of Trump. It's because he was involved in way more things, working for the deep state and the white hat side of the deep state as well. The secret space program. He is part of the train to Mars, the train to take humanity off of Earth because they think eventually this place isn't going to make it. All right. So they're building colonies off planet, and that they're stacking it with children and the brightest ones. Okay.
Mhm.
So I'm just telling you, I mean, if you watch my shows, if you listen to what I say, if you read my articles, you're already going to know all these things I'm saying, and I'm sorry to
Mhm.
repeat myself here, but I think a lot of people never hear what I'm saying here because I don't
Exactly.
see any of my colleagues, not one of them, saying the stuff I'm saying here. Not one. Not one. And I have lots of colleagues. So ask yourself why.
Well,
Who are they? Who
I want
are
to
they
ask you a question.
bullying? Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I want to ask. No, that's great. This is incredible stuff. And I listen. I'm on the page with you. I really am. There's no way that I have the spiritual IQ or the intelligence to um, know what the I don't want to I'm trying to frame this, know the real truth. At the point where I am right now, I have the truth that I know to be at my certain capacity or essential level. That's the only truth I know. It may be true at my level of understanding, but I know far beyond what I know at this point, because I know I am not an avatar. I'm not a prophet. I'm none of these
You
people claim to
know
be.
when you're
I see
being
people out there
lied
claiming to
to.
be prophets all over the place. I'm a prophet. I'm this prophet. I'm that prophet. Like how Pastor Bob Joyce is like, there are no modern day prophets. But the reality is, I know that I'm probably so far off the mark of the full power of the reality and truth as God created for us to get to understand. I'm okay with that. I just want to keep taking steps. I just want to keep moving toward the light, no matter how wrong I am. I don't claim, I don't stay, I don't drive a stake in the ground anywhere. That's why I love listening to you, because not only does it expand my understanding, but here's how I see truth. Like, people can go up against what you say. I mean, there are some things I might disagree with on some minor levels. Like, I know you've been going at Juan for a number of years since I've known you. Juan has been incredibly helpful to me in a number of ways, advising me when I call him. And it's rare, I don't talk to him. It's not often I talk to Juan, but I'll call him and ask him some advice. He gives me clarity on many things. Does that mean that Juan is my right hand, that everything Juan says? Well, I don't know. I don't see everything he says. I just know that in the case where it works for me for what I need when I need it, he's always there for me. And there's other aspects of what you talk about that may not hit me at the same vibrational level, but I want to seek that out because you've done so much for so long and have such a broad understanding. And it's like when I say things to my audience, they're like, I'm really disappointed Scott said that because X, Y, Z. Okay, sorry you're disappointed. It has nothing to do with me. And that's okay. Because if I got to smash you in the skull some way, shape, or form with a exploding vortex in front of you with this information, great. Because you're not gonna think about why I don't like what Scott said. You're gonna compare it to what you know and over here. And I believe the vibration of truth. I've said this before. We're coming into this space now in time. As Law of One was the most incredible thing I've ever read or tried to understand. It's the most difficult thing to get your head around and your heart around or spirit around. But I believe so much in what I come to learn there. And I think now we're at a place where we will know truth, not by what it sounds like or logic or background or education or intelligence, by what it feels like. What does it do in your stomach, your sixth sense? Does it make you feel like right now? I'm just saying what I'm saying. I'm getting goosebumps on my arms because what I'm saying must be true. That this is how you will discern the truth as we're moving into this. You don't
Yes.
have to have any background knowledge on anything, but if somebody says something and you feel it, then it's true. And this is where I got the lesson of this, and I'm putting it in my own construct. Dr. David Hawkins. That was my foray into quantum physics, and quantum physics changed everything about what I now understand of this architecture creator put together for us as a living construct in the spiritual world, physical world, from the spiritual sense. And it's pretty simple to understand. I read Power versus Force. It's about this thick 3 times back to back slowly. I had to understand every sentence before I moved forward, and it was tough the first read, and I didn't grasp it or have command of it, but I went back again. And when I went through the next time, things started to click in my head, and that's why I know anybody can learn anything. I don't care what their IQ is. If you stay at it, bang bang, you just stay at it, your brain will start identifying patterns of association, and you can learn anything. You have to have the fortitude to stay at it. The third time I read it, now I've got a handle, a grasp. I go into truth versus falsehood, opened the whole world up. Just in one aspect of it. They've calibrated every single sentence in the Bible kinesiologically to determine truth or false. And where it once calibrated at 1,000, the highest it could calibrate anything, it's been now down to about 700. Now you think it's like that's a big drop. Einstein was calibrated at 499. 500 is the leap into the field of that quantum field of what we would call bliss. I mean, you're talking about a quantum leap. Just that 1%, the difference between where Einstein's understanding was based on what they tell us about Einstein. Magnanimous jump, just that 1%. But the reality is, when you can qualify anything that's ever said or stated or truth or falsehood with kinesiological testing, like take I use this example. You venture into an Aboriginal tribe in Australia, never seen a white man, never read a book. They don't know anything, but you somehow have this picture of the Mona Lisa, the original Mona Lisa, in your hands. Probably don't. It's going to be a fake. But if you can say to this person, somebody will hold their arm out, somebody else pushes down, and to see how strong they test with this particular statement. And the statement could be, this is the original Mona Lisa. Well, it's not. And that person will test weak completely. If you say this is a replica of the Mona Lisa, even if they don't know what the Mona Lisa is, even if they can't speak the language, and somebody's okay, I'm going to try to push your arm down, they will test very strong, because the truth that this is the original Mona Lisa or this is not, they will test physically on their strength will be impacted by that in the quantum realm of truth versus falsehood. That is a direct indicator. We will know truth by what it feels like. In this case, it's strength. In another case, the same probably, it's the gut feeling, your sixth sense when you get that in your stomach. To me, that is the best way I can explain it to people,
Yeah,
how
but
we're coming in.
muscle testing is not necessarily going to be correct. Why would I say that?
Okay.
Because your body has been programmed, has been misled
Mm,
to think one thing is better than another, to think very many, your mind can trick you, aliens can trick you any day of the week. Religion has tricked you and will continue to trick you.
Mm,
I mean, in other words, what I'm trying to say is that you cannot just rely on kinesiology or any of those ways of testing. Okay. And I don't think
mhm.
that their machines can tell you what's really true either. Because what I've even noticed in testing AIs is they don't tell you the truth. They just don't. They lie
Mm. Hey,
because
Kerry, I
they
want to
don't know
interject
the
one
truth.
statement in here. I want to interject one statement. Folks, we're going to take this show over tonight because we have Dr. Pete Chambers. Dr. Pete Chambers is in the house tonight. This is a special forces soldier and a doctor, MD, and a governor candidate here in Texas. So we're gonna he's been in the bullpen for a little bit, but I let him know I have Kerry Cassidy on tonight. This is going to go overtime because I always take Kerry overtime because the conversation is unlike any conversation I ever have. It's so unique, and it gives me this this state of confidence that there's so much more to know. And if I can give you anything, folks, from what you're hearing tonight, if you ever dig your feet in the ground on what you believe is true, you just I don't believe that. That's bullshit. I don't want to hear that. That's weakness. That's a lack of confidence of who you are. I don't want to hear that. Don't spend time with that person because they think that. I
You've
will
heard the
spend time
saying,
with
though, the lie is different at every level. Richard
Mhm.
Hoagland used to say that all the time. He was told that
What is that? How does that relate to what I just said? I don't understand that. Explain that to me.
because there's layers of truth and there's layers of lies.
Okay,
And
I
things,
got you.
there are some things that temporarily appear to be true and might be true in that level. It's just that we are multidimensional. We live in many dimensions simultaneously. And what's true here on earth is not necessarily true on a higher level. And it's also
Mhm.
true, even a military guy like the guy, you can bring him on. I mean, we could do a three-way. I don't want to have
Yes,
to
let's do
change
it.
your schedule for me. That would be silly. I also want to say this, and I think that what I was told recently was the one that told Richard Hogan that, by the way, and he probably heard it from
Told him
another
what?
military, that the lie is different every level. It's peeling the onion to get to the real truth,
Okay.
and you got to realize you're doing that. What was true for you when you were 16 is not true anymore. Okay. And
Mm,
that's how you felt then. Okay. You felt it with every bone in your body, whatever it happened to be. You were in love. You thought this, you thought that. It was true for then, but it's not true for now. Okay. So keep in mind that because we are so multidimensional, I mean, this is a gift. Okay. Understanding truth and what's really going on. And yes, your body can reflect that. But a lot of times you have all kinds of, not just you, but anybody has what you call, blocks and implants. You've heard of those things, right? Coming into this reality, it's part of the game. You're going to be deceived.
mhm,
And a lot of times you get deceived by the same things over and over again. People will deceive you, etc. And let me get something straight. I'm a huge fan of Juan. Okay. I know it doesn't sound like it. Okay. I love his soul. I love
We
his
all are.
energy that he brings to
Mhm,
trying to wake people up in his own unique way. I don't
mhm,
love his choices. Obviously, I don't love his religion, but I admire the fact that he is motivated by good. He is motivated
mhm,
to try to help you in the best way he knows how. Doesn't matter if
mhm,
it's right or wrong in a certain sense, because his intention is purely good. And I think he's a wonderful
mhm.
being.
Exactly.
So I don't want people to get the wrong idea, but I am not attacking him. I'm attacking his religion and the lies that it brings and the further imprisoning of the minds of humanity that it brings with it. And the only criticism I have on his side of the street is that he is not choosing the right things to try to enlighten. He's choosing a path he was taught as a young man with his background, which is
Mhm,
quite unique, that he got from the rabbis and all the rest of the religious mumbo jumbo people. Okay. So
mhm.
your choices are a reflection of who you are at the moment. In the future, he will make different choices, I assure you. as many of us will, right? Because what you thought was true for you or good for someone else back then could change, right? As we move into the future. And the things you believe now may not be the things you believe a few years from now. So I just wanted to qualify that so it was clear. But I'm happy to talk to your, Chambers. Did you say his last name is? Um,
Yeah, Dr. Pete Chambers. I'm going to bring him on. If
I
if
don't
you
know
stick around,
him,
that'd be great.
but if he doesn't want to talk to me, that's fine. I'll move on. I don't want to change your trajectory here.
Well, he's running for governor, and I think it'd be great to have him come on, and we can both listen and have some input in there. This is another American hero, just by his choices in his life and what he has done, and what he's doing now is truly special and unique. So it'd be great to bring him on in a second. But I do want to say, um, folks, again, I don't shows become boring to me. My audience knows I don't do the day-to-day analysis on current events anymore. Sometimes I do, but I did that for 30 years. 30 years, nobody ever listened to anything. I mean, not nobody, but I was a pain in the ass because all I was trying to do was always wake people up in the political world. Once I realized it's a complete construct of bullshit, and I revolted and went against it, became an attack machine against it. For me, it is kind of like what's important is not the dynamics of day to day. The important is what is going on in your soul, in your life. Because I'm more concerned about your spiritual ascension, and I throw things at people to get them to break out of the construct I was once in. I feel good now. When I was my born again Christian dogma, and I mean that was personal. You didn't hear me preaching all the time. It was personal, but I broke down, my soul fractured, and I had virtually a breakdown one day. And it was the most freeing thing ever because I flipped off God, F you, I'm done. Drop the fucking anvil. I don't give a shit anymore. Quantum physics became my Bible. I knew there was a divine construct. And eventually in 2017, I think it was 2016, I came full circle back to God, right back home with an experience I had. I needed a path diversion. My creator gave me a path diversion because I suspect I needed far more information to assimilate it. So, whatever your path is, it's like Dave Emery said weeks ago to us. I don't criticize people for what they think or do because we're all moving in the same direction. We're all trying to move in the same direction. If we get it wrong or we don't, it's okay. Like I don't mind that. Even with Juan, how like I said, how I view and assess people. How do you treat other humans? I watch 107. Most people know I'm the last person to leave an event because people want your time and I give them, and I don't walk away from anybody or any line or any person. If I do, it would just kick me. It would hit my soul. I can't even endure that because I don't want somebody to feel like they weren't important enough. I see Juan. I've seen him out 2 a.m. sitting outside of this big church. They closed the doors after an event. They put a table and a chair out there, and he was out there till 2:30 in the morning because my bus was parked right there. That's how I see Juan, a beautiful soul who makes everybody feel important. And again, all of us doing the best that we can with the knowledge or tools that we have. That's all we have to know about each other. And that's why we can still exhibit love and respect and kindness for each other, even if our beliefs don't completely merge. Because at the end of the day, we are all one organism. The law of one, if you can ever get your head around it, will help you understand things that Kerry said. Hillary Clinton was critically necessary to this planet. Hillary Clinton, as depraved as this bitch is, she was critical in my experience and the ascension track that I'm on, because without the dark, you can't see the contrast to see where the light is or know what the light is. And I can go on for 40 minutes here, but I'm going to shut up because I want folks to know who is running for governor and know about this man who's had a unique life and has, as a special forces operator, as a combat medic, as a candidate for governor, doing a medical doctor, doing amazing things in the world in this construct that we have, always looking to serve humanity. Now he's taken it to the next level, going against the satanic lair itself, politics in this country, anywhere. If I had met Pete before this, I'd be sitting down talking to him like I did, Joey Gilbert, Cordy Williams, even Lewis Herms, trying to talk them out of running for office because you don't know what you're walking into until you get in there. It's why I walked away. It is as horribly dirty as anything you're ever going to touch, and it'll fracture your soul at times. In some people's lives, it destroys them. It's not going to do it for this guy because, I mean, I'm just going to introduce you now. Take a look for yourself. This is Dr. Pete Chambers. Ask me if you think I'm afraid of anything and if he's not 10 feet tall and bulletproof. That's just pretty much what you're looking at here.
5'11".
Dr. Pete Chambers, it's great to have you on here. I know you're sitting in the bullpen there, waiting for us to bring you in. Thanks for being patient.
Glad to be here.
But I just want to, Kerry Cassidy, Dr. Pete Chambers, Kerry Cassidy. Of course, you know Kerry. You're going to have to be a massive ass kicking disruptor and make a shit ton of enemies in that place you're stepping into. But understand, if you don't, you've already lost. And that's why I wanted you to hear as much of Kerry as possible, because she's the ultimate disruptor of the world narrative. And that's the only way we get out of this. It's the only way. So, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Pete Chambers, what say you?
Well, you know what? I just listened. It was great to listen a little bit before I got started, because at least I heard some dialogue, heard some new things. I've met 107 a couple of times. He's briefed us, and I've briefed him back and forth. In Central Texas, we were doing counter human trafficking and chasing a needle in a stack of needles down on the border. Terrorists coming through with 12,500 people a week. Most of those people being used as pawns. You know, my job was to take care of the troops, but also the poor folks that come across, especially unaccompanied minors. So that was one of my loves as far as my job, which put us into, when I got out, counter human trafficking, because there's a lot of them missing. So, but it's good to be here. Yeah.
Well, thanks for Doc for doing what you do. Can we rewind just a couple of decades? Little
Yeah.
background, so folks who haven't seen you
Sure.
before, the first time on the channel, your track, education,
Sure.
and what
Absolutely.
took you into military, and from military, post-military, into the world you're not.
All right.
Or
So
now, give us a little bit of that back.
Sure thing. Yeah, I'll give you a quick overview. So I have 6 decades in my life. I'm 60 years old, December 25th, baby. My life started in the military as a public servant in 3 September 1983. Ronald Reagan was the president, and I was a 17, 18-year-old kid by the time I finished basic, and thought I had a good career. You know, just an infantry guy, nothing spectacular, no wars. It's pretty easy. We get to shoot guns, we get to carry backpacks, walk long distances, and dig holes. It's a lot of fun, but that's a young man's job. And so I got out. My dad was a family doctor. I used to ride around with him in the country with a little black bag on my seat, on my lap, if we go to house calls. And that's what I thought I was going to do. And so I went to college, med school, and then did residency in Beaumont, Texas, and then finished up out of Oklahoma State program. Uh, and it was in emergency medicine and trauma. And then 9/11 happened. And so I said, I'm going back. But I thought, we'll go down range, we'll finish the job. And it was 20 years later that I had a whole career in the military and retired after 20 something years. But I did total of 39 active guard and reserves, and I went to the Texas National Guard my last 8 years. Thought this is going to be the best job ever. I'm going to defend my border, right? Not 53 other countries I've been to, which love everybody out there, but this is my country. And then we saw the optics versus the reality, and then we saw the truths. And then for the first time, I paid attention to what was happening at home, what was happening at home, which is the politics that I never paid attention to. When you're a soldier, you pay attention to mission. You're looking at life through a sniper rifle, essentially. Now I got to see the truth, and it scared me. I was there at 9/11. I was there at the Murrah building bombing. I was there at a lot of things that I didn't know would put me where it's a moment such as this. If you think of the Book of Esther, this is a moment such as this. And so this has got me to where I had 6,000 soldiers. I'm going to finish this story now. 6,000 soldiers on the border. I was a task force surgeon. I said, you can't give the shots to the troops. We're not going to do it. And the DOD said, oh, yes, you are. And I said, well, sir, you can't do it. It's a 2-star general. So I'm just a lieutenant colonel at the time. And he says, Chambers, I like you, but you're going to have to get with the program. It ain't about the science. It's about the policy, son. And I said, well, sir, now that's an unlawful order. And so I testified in a federal court case about it, two of them. And SEALs versus DOD, we went up against the machine. And when you do that and you're a person that wears a uniform, you become what's called persona non grata, which means you're not welcome here. And so very quickly, all the shadow policies started happening to me. I lost pay, allowances. I didn't get my retirement pay for 2 years after I left, which is fine. I knew it was the game. And then that's when somebody came to me and said, "Would you run for governor?" I said, "No." That's how I pray about it. And looked into the problem sets. And then I expected people to be like you said, Scott. When I said, "Do you think I should run?" They would say, "No." First person I asked was Alan West. He said, "Yes, you should do it. We need the country. Politics has gone downhill, and the country's not secured. We need a guy like you that can lead." That's okay. Next one I called was General Flynn. "What do you think, sir?" And I called this one, I called that one, called a few people, and everybody said, "We need you to run. You have to run. We've got to put something. Nothing against the man personally as the current sitting governor. It has to do with where the country's at." And the ability to foresee. Yeah, the one skill that I have is I know what war looks like. I know what it smells like. I know what a color revolution looks like. I was trained to do them. I haven't never had to go do that. I had to fight direct action the last 20 years. That's
Mhm.
kinetic warfare. But I know what it looks like when it's in our back door. So that's why I'm here.
So,
Can you give me that
and
phone?
that truly I do understand. I had a question. I saw a rabbit and I went after it, and I can't remember what that question was. I was going to ask you. But in any case, it was a conversation point, and that is that nothing against the governor of Texas. I do big time. Um, how the hell do you have the power to shut down that border, and you're not, and and you don't even become oppositional until years after millions have poured in here, and then you're saying, okay, we're going to ship them to Washington D.C. or wherever else. I'm like, that's great. Facilitate their entry into blue cities where the chaos always starts. I mean, they're gonna do that's where they're gonna do it. I've been very oppositional to that. There's when you're allowing killers and rapists to come into this country, and you know it, and terrorists, they're pouring in. Here's the thing: the people that have ranches on the border, they don't have protection. The people that are in these cities, they don't have protection. Governor Abbott has the protection of all protection, just like every political figure at those levels in the country. They don't have to worry about this shit because they've got security team with weapons, but they want to take ours away, and they want to leave us defenseless to this lot that they have coming into this country that are killing and stealing and doing everything they're doing. And so that's where I take issue. So I'm not sure what my point is on that, but I guess I was just telling my audience I got a real problem with that governor by what he allowed happen to the Texas border, and could have done a hell of a lot more, a lot sooner. But anyways, that being said, are you having a hard time hearing me? Are you okay? You hearing any volume yet? I suspect no. Not sure what to tell you, Doc. Um,
Oh, there we go. I get you now.
got it?
Okay,
Okay.
just came back literally that whole time we were moving wires trying to fix this thing. Sorry.
All right. Well, I was just beating up on Abbott a little bit for letting all the murderers and rapists come into this country, giving us lip service, but letting them pour across the border anyways. I don't care what Biden was doing. He could have put the Texas Guard on that border, shut it down, but he chose not to. And it's too late because there's too many kids, too many girls raped, beat up, murdered, all the theft, property damage, ranchers going down the tubes because they can't stop what's going on. I have a real problem with that.
Yeah.
You can come up with any political reason you want for doing that. Again, I don't have the stomach for it. I'm going to call out the bullshit. I'll hammer the governor publicly, which I have a number of times. No excuse. People have lost family members now, beautiful daughters dead, brutally raped, murdered by these animals. So you can't now say, "Oh, now, well, I'm engaging it." Out, go now. This is why we need the constitutional county grand juries, the original architecture of governance in this country by our founders in place, so we don't have to wait for another election. We can convene right from where the county the guy lives, convene we the people citizen grand juries, and go through all the evidences, make a presentment. If it needs indicted, you have a certified standing militia that is required by the Constitution for every county grand jury as its enforcement arm to get stuff done. And that's
Hmm.
why we need it back, because these people who refuse to protect America could have been dealt with by we the people a long time ago, and not have to dance with their corporations masquerading as government, corporations masquerading as law enforcement, corporations masquerading as courts. That's what we have in the country. That's why we can't get justice from anybody in the political world. Look, I come from that world. I spent 16 years there. My goal,
Hmm.
my track in life for 16 years to become a United States Senator. Everything I did, the way I spoke, all my extracurricular activities out of work were to become a United States Senator. My goal and dream was to be the chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee so I could triple the pay of every soldier in the US and fight to have the pay reduced to these scumbags that are in DC polishing seats with their asses while they're sending our boys onto battlefields for monetary and banking reasons. Anyways, I'm getting off the soapbox, but I just had to say I have mad respect for everything you've done, and that you're willing to go down this path, because they are going to set themselves up to bloody you in every way they can. Ever since Carville and Stephanopoulos with the Clinton team took politics into the sewer, it's not about putting out your philosophy to the world and letting them decide. It's about, I'm going to destroy you. I'm going to make sure you can't get a job again. I'm going to make people believe you're a pedophile. I'm going to do everything I have to do to destroy you. That's what you're walking into. But I know, based on your career, you have built an army behind you of the right people and the right supporter. You're in the process of it. You'll have mine for sure. Just
Thank you,
by
brother.
what you've done in your life, you have it, and you'll have it in spades. But so in this track of where you are right now on your run for governor, what's the
Hmm.
landscape look like?
Right. So we're right now grassroots. We are approaching the target. You really got to look at things in tiers. Nothing is like it seems. There's so many layers to this thing, and the more that I spend time in this, and we understand politics downrange. We always had to study our cultures and the areas that we're in. Understand. I met with kings. I met with leaders of state and diplomats. Green Berets are warrior diplomats. They're not just the
Mhm.
guys that carry guns and do bad things to bad people. They're diplomats, and so and we pray that we can do not like von Clausewitz said, war is diplomacy by other means. But to me, I always turned that around and said, no, love is diplomacy by other means. I can do a lot more with that by center of gravity movement. So, center of gravity for most operators in the conventional warfare world or in the legislative world, the center of gravity is things. It's money. It's infrastructure. It's what corporatocracy can bring to the table, as the 1871, DC corporations kicked off. But for me, it's the center of gravity is people. So I just take that little thing and put it right over the heart here, and I say we need a heart transplant first of all. As a physician, I was a guy that stopped bleeding on the battlefield. I'm not a specialist other than stopping bleeding in very bad places under extreme amounts of pressure, and that's what I did.
Mhm.
But I can tell you this, that we need a heart transplant, because the truest virtue of a warrior, Stephen Pressfield wrote about this in the book about Thermopylae, the Battle of Thermopylae, 300 was a outtake on it, movie, is that the truest virtue of a warrior is love. Right? And so you would think, well, what do you mean, like John 15:13, but greater love hath no man than to give out his life for his friend? Yes, I do mean that, but more. We don't fight wars because we hate people. We hate evil, and we stand in the gap. And for Green Berets, it's Deo Presso Liberi. It's a Latin motto, to free the oppressed. We truly believe it. We're not
Mhm.
robots. We fight with passion because we love who's next to us, who we're going to rescue, and those people behind us. Now, that's esoteric, I understand, but if everything from the leader, right, the commander in chief, I read the job description, by the way, of the governor of Texas. You're the commander in chief of all Texas forces, Texas National Guard, the state militia. There is one in Texas, and the Texas DPS. Okay, so that's my job. So if I set the standard as the commander, which I've been in areas 1,000 miles wide, then what does that mean? Well, that means that I set the standard. I set the end state. I set the mission planning, if you will, like where are we going to go? I want to give you the end state, our mission statement in the corporate world. And then I say I want citizens to lead it, task forces. That's also in my job description. Guess what? I can appoint a task force of citizens, not former governors like we do now.
Mhm.
We got one sitting on a task force right now in Perry. We can have no lobbyists on that panel or on that task force. And we say, what subject do you want? Let's decentralize medicine in the state of Texas. Okay, then Mary Talley Bowden will come in. That's who I'll put in charge of it. She's a doctor who got beat up for giving ivermectin for her patients, even though she had a court order. We will have a counter lawfare task force. I just talked to Stuart Rhodes this evening. We were at an event together. And I said, would you head up that lawfare task force? Counter lawfare task force. So letting citizens, bringing back common law courts, getting rid of a lot of the corporatocracy slash court system that is run by sometimes county level courts, which no mas because that's the good old boy network. We've got to go back to the, like you said, citizen led courts, grand juries.
Mhm.
So that's what I'm up against. But it's evil. They've tried some things. They've tried to buy me off. That's already happened. Offered me a different
Is that
job,
right?
a lot more money. Oh yeah, and I was like, nah, ain't
No
gonna
kidding.
happen. And I'm sure the vitriol has started with pundits because they say they're anti-establishment guys. They're usually young guys that want to get clicks. I just don't get on their shows because if they're not serious, saying, well, he's not really a doctor, or he's not really a Green Beret. I'm like, well, you can FOIA that, so I'm not even going to talk to you. I want serious people to have serious conversation, not children. So that's I just avoid that. It makes them mad, and they just stomp and
Mhm.
break things. That's okay. They'll get over it. But we're in a serious business right now, and we've got some serious men. We'll just say operators that understand targeting, but in the sense of the right people to vote in an off-cycle election, which is not 18.9 million possible voters. It'll be more like 1.5 million, and that's what we've got to target.
So in the let's talk policy and philosophy here for a second. What are the greatest challenges you see that need addressed first and foremost? Say the top three in the state of Texas right now, and then of course we'll morph that into nationally. What's your focus?
Yeah, top three, because I'm speaking to all the different 8 countries of Texas. We have a lot of cultures here, and so it's like I say, it's like 8 countries. Down east, you got the RGV, you got the piney woods, all the way up to the dry panhandle out to the way out west, and then the hill country, and then all the cities. Houston is its own country itself, about 6 different cities. So number one, they want security. Most people want security. Now the financial, and then just physical security. They're worried about the Sharia law cities. They're worried about the colony stuff. They're the things, the cities that exist with illegals, and then some people that wish us harm upon our Constitution and our future way of life. I can't always. There's some clicking, or somebody's shooting a machine gun. Can you hear me?
We're hearing there's been some feedback tonight on this
Okay,
channel. I
I'll
don't
fire through.
know. At least that's yeah. So we're
Yeah,
still we're
so
good
that's
so
okay.
far.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, but the one consistent thing is truly property taxes. Okay, that's the biggest thing in Texas for just aside from security, and that I firmly believe they're non-constitutional. Property taxes. If you have a lien
Right.
on someone's house, you shouldn't do that. Okay, you can't do that. So how can I phase withdraw that thing? I can't flip it, the economy on its head overnight, but for right away, I can say single family occupancy right now, nothing. You're not paying anything. And then we'll get through the rest of it and we'll phase it out across the state. And we will, you talk about Doge. I mean, Doge is to me, it was a facade up on the Capitol, on the federal side. but we can do a fiscal responsibility through audits and save a lot of money because I know, once again, having worked for the governor's office during COVID, the response of COVID, inside the secret meetings in the operations center, and then the Operation Lone Star, having worked there and knowing where all the bodies are buried, figuratively speaking, I know there's a lot of fraud, waste, and abuse going on. There's a lot of lies that were going on. There were a lot of optics versus reality going on. When I would brief ranchers on the border, or I'd brief Tyson's meatpacking plant on why you didn't want to get PCR tests done because they were going to shut down your meatpacking plant, which affects our families, and now our food industry is paying exorbitant costs for beef because that's what kicked that off. You start seeing these things, and you try to warn people. And as a guy that was in a green suit with stripes on my sleeve, so to speak, if I said something about it, they would fire me. And guess what? They did, because I said you don't need to take these shots, right? And then they, like I said, they came after me, and it's okay, because they may have won the first round, the first salvo, with regard to coming after me, but in the long run, in the court of truly not public opinion, but treating people right, we did the right thing. All of us that stood up, Mary Tagley Bowden, anybody stood up against that machine that was bringing that. And then, so as a governor guy, I've got to think, okay, now I got to think left of bang. So not only secure the state, but secure them from other things. mRNA technology, very dangerous. Until we can prove otherwise, it's messenger RNA is not what this is. This is modified RNA. That little m is modified, not messenger, like the biology
I didn't
talks
know
about.
that.
Yeah, modified RNA. So it's very dangerous. It is a bioweapon. It is completely a bioweapon. You look at coronavirus, that's the common cold, by the way. When I went to med school, graduated in '95. And then all of a sudden you put a gain of function addition to it, which has lipid nanoparticles and other things that go across blood-brain barriers. And then now you have something that's a bioweapon. As a guy that was trained to be a special operations flight surgeon, I had to know about bioweapons. And so when we talked to our buddies over in Kiev and knew that there was labs over there in Ukraine that needed to be blown up before somebody got a hold of them so that we would know that there were secret labs, that's all the information that I had known about for years, and thinking, okay, now it makes sense. It all comes together. Moments such as this. I'm seeing these things firsthand. I don't have to say secondhand. I saw all of this. And so for me, I can stand in the gap with full assurity, knowing that what I'm doing is 100% right. So for day one, I do an executive order that says moratorium, no mRNA products in Texas, in food, water, in anything, period. No shots, no nothing. It's going to make some people real mad. And there'll be a lot of wailing and gnashing of teeth. And I don't give a flip. Because if we're standing in the gap, we're going to stand in the gap right. And will they come after me? Yeah, they will. As long as it doesn't cost the taxpayers money to represent me in court, I have to make sure I have a good AG with me. And we're watching to see which one will be good. I don't know which one to pick from yet, but that's okay. We'll figure it out. But it's dirty. Politics is dirty. And there's so much more. Yeah.
I want to ask Kerry a question on that based on what you're talking about. And I've had this conversation with people who have, so how would I frame this? It's not a higher level of intelligence, but it's a deeper perspective on the spiritual nature of this human species. And that comes to government. And if I had to frame the question, I'd start it with a statement that we need to move into a world, inevitably, eventually, into a state of governance and
There you
self-governance,
go.
not self-government, because government is the overarching monarchy on the human soul, and that we're taught to bow down to it. But if we can move into a world where we are in this, let's just say we just transition into this fourth density from the third density experience or third dimension, we're into the next dimension of God's creation, a higher another step in the ladder of the angelic realm, Jacob's ladder, which people think it's DNA, people think it's something else. But if we can get the human species on the spiritual realm into that place of the track of heaven, what do you want to call it? Then it becomes now governance, where we govern ourselves, where we have an internal code, whether it's a spiritual or DNA code, where the idea of murdering a human being, and I've used this example before, and this has stuck with me since I was a kid. Do you remember, Pete, when Planet of the Apes came out? You and I are the same age. When Planet of the
Hmm.
Apes came out, when we were kids, we go to see it at the movie,
Yep.
and the first one, and of course, an ape had killed another ape, and they finally circle him, and he's in a tree, and all these apes are standing around the tree, and they're speaking,
Yeah.
of course, and they're doing this. Ape has killed ape, like ape
Hmm.
has killed ape. So foreign to the ape community that one ape killed another, and I thought, what would it be like if this planet was that way,
Hmm.
where the idea of even murdering a human is so beyond our capacity that if somebody even, came up with a thought, it would send ripples through the quantum field that would affect everybody and be so disturbing.
Right.
I'm hoping we're obviously in this, ascension experience, we're going to get to that. But how do we move to a place where we can require less government because we're behaving ourselves. We're doing right by all other humans, and it's virtually impossible with the programming machine of media, with the education system completely indoctrination. It's not education, it's indoctrination on
Hmm.
so many levels. How do we break out of that? What kind of policies can somebody in a position of power and influence at least propose and maybe never get, even in a 4-year term to implement? Because the evolution of the acceptance or understanding by your constituents is difficult because people are rooted in these belief systems. I mean, when you look at the from an 80,000 foot view of the planet or of Texas itself, do you ever think about those kind of things? How do we get to a higher order where this isn't required? Because humans, just the concept of killing each other or stealing from each other is kind of, it's not going to get to be foreign, I don't think, in our lifetime, but at least make progress to where we just find it unacceptable to lie, cheat, steal, or kill.
Hmm.
How does politics advance that on this planet or just in the state of Texas?
Well, that's not a big question to ask at all, is it? How do we do that? Yeah,
I thought the same
to
thing.
fix
Yeah.
all the problems of the world, and I'm being facetious and tongue in cheek, but honestly, I'm trying to face it in a political answer, and I'm not a political guy, but understand that you fail at politics if you don't do actually the actual definition of politics is from Aristotle. It's the polis, the city state, and it's to add action to it to support this polis. So actually, most politicians are failing at the very definition of their job. But for me, the problem came when we tried to centralize everything. All right, so we create more bureaucracy. The bigger that it gets, the more topsy turvy it is on. Just like the state of Texas, we use it for example. This Texas Education Administration, the 80% of what your school taxes pay for in Texas go to administrative costs. There are 1,207 school districts, and they got nothing against somebody making a living. I get it, but the average, roughly the average salary for the superintendents of those are between $300,000 to $500,000 a year. Now, me as an ER doctor, when I was working in the emergency rooms, I would have to work 4 nights to 5 nights a week in order to make that kind of a salary. I'd have to work really, really hard to make that salary. As a public servant, it seems a little exorbitant. But the other things that seems to be the problem set is the centralization or the creating of a top heavy, administrative heavy organization. When we run our counter human trafficking on the border, we take 95% of what we bring in donations goes to the operation to getting the kid or out, the lady out, the man out from oppression. And about 10% or less actually pays for anything for us as far as we don't take a salary. So we're really not upside down. But you take Wounded Warrior Program, who I thought was really great when I got wounded, and they gave me this little bag with this little toothbrush in it. And I thought, that's so cool. I got a toothbrush and a bag and some underarm deodorant. Well, guess what? 90% of what they took in went to their salaries at their corporate level, and 10% went to us. And so you got that's the problem with that is that bureaucracy is feeding itself. It's a self-licking ice cream cone. And so we've got to decentralize and give the governance, because I say this, godly governance back to the people. You know, my third movie, I talk about three movies. One of them's Gladiator. We're giving the republic back to the people. When you do that, they'll earn it. They'll own it. They'll take care of each other because they have a vested interest and take it out of the hands of the state overreach or federal overreach, and then just once again, with the doctrine of lesser magistrates, so important to read to understand that when John Knox in 1500 was in the standing before the magistrates of Scotland and interposing for the serfs, and he said, "Here's the principles that I'm reading to you, sirs, good sirs." It was like 70 or 80 biblical principles of why they needed to be taken care of. Those principles are what our founding fathers used when they looked at John Knox to write our Declaration of Independence and Constitution. It's right there in the words. We don't have to create a new system. It's there. Now the enemy who comes to truly kill, steal, and destroy, prowling around in darkness like a lion, seeking to destroy, to devour, that enemy, as I've seen in a dream, it was a dream I had, and I wrote this paper called Operation Assured Ascension. And Operation Assured Ascension, as I gave it to Todd Callender, I wrote it down as a military operations order from top to bottom, stem to stern. And I wrote it out, and this was in 2020. And I wrote it out, and everything has come to pass, and it's just based upon a dream. And it was a dream of me standing in the White House looking over the shoulder of Biden, and I'm reading this top secret order. It says Assured Ascension. And I'm like, what does Satan want to do? Satan wanted to ascend to the throne through the second heaven, into the heavens above. He wanted to do that, which is what he talks about. So he will always try to ascend through the advent of politics. And that's why it takes somebody to come in with godly governance. In my book, this is my theory on this, is so that means that I'm a commander, if you will, in this spiritual warfare that we're in, not in the sense of me I'm interposing. I'm willing to take the hits, if you will, as a commander. Sometimes you got to draw fire, and you draw fire for your people. And so I'm willing to do that because that's what I've done my whole life. Instead of raising cattle and leaving and just going out and making an easy life for myself, I'm like, nope, sold all the cattle. We're gonna take some hits for a few more years. I don't know if that answers the whole question, but I think decentralizing is my main focus. Oh, yes.
Can you unmute me, Lisa?
Gotcha. Gotcha now.
Okay. Can you hear me? Is that a yes? Okay. So we're muting on my end because this interference that keeps overtaking. I think your son Pete was it was bothering Lisa, so she handled it. So I think the answer is great because it gives us a chance to look into the heart and soul of a guy running for the governor of this state here, which is important. And I can already get a sense. I've been around. I haven't interviewed tons of politicians, people running for office. I've been around them for a long time, and the construct of all of it is becoming an excellent bullshitter. That's the problem. They have a language. I don't hear any of that from you. I hear a guy authentically just talking to the people. You still hear me, Pete?
Yep.
Can you
I'm
still hear
listening.
me? Okay. What I think is a winning hand, just watching you, there's nothing but authenticity from you. There's no political speak. There's no trying to make this incredible, this high level impression on the constituency, showing them how smart you are. It's obvious you are, everything you've done. And it's in there too. I mean, you're studied on philosophy, history, Christianity, religion, Bible, whatever. That's critical in my opinion. But authenticity is the winning hand of the day in anything in this life, this world now, right now. And I think it's why we've been fairly successful with Patriot Street Fighter, because I don't know how to do anything different. I don't know how to be anything different. I can't frame myself in a way that makes me look good. And
Right.
I don't even have to. I used to design little things to like have microphones and fall down and shit like that because people like hey, if Scott McKay can do a little bit in this world, and he's got a
Yeah.
Fisher Price studio, $200 for the whole thing, and we're still using it 5 years later. It's just kind of me being me, and I'm not trying to polish myself up to make myself look like somebody I'm not. That's exactly what I get from you, and I'm telling you, as long as what do you think Trump did? Why do you think this overnight this nation rose up in fighting for this guy? Why? Because he's trying to, or he's an
The real thing.
everyman. In fact, what I
Yeah.
love about this guy is Don described him he's a blue collar billionaire. He's a blue collar
Yeah.
billionaire. When he speaks, the average Joe lunch bucket guy who comes from where I grew up, they can understand exactly what he's saying. And again, you're from the rancher to the ranger, which I know you want a rancher, but from rancher to the ranger, everything about you speaks that just in how you talk here. So I'm actually becoming excited and energized about your campaign. I've known nothing about you other than what people told me up until today. So you
Thanks,
continue to
sir.
be that guy. I'm telling you. I've managed campaigns, run them, worked on them. From local, state, national, managed campaign race in California. Which is, in California, when you're managing a state assembly race, that's like managing a congressional race
Right. I'm
anywhere in the
sure.
country. There's so much money, so much power. But again, the thing that drove me nuts is this political speak, this bullshit machine language that where politicians try to separate themselves from the constituents to make them feel like that they have an elevated position before they are even elected. That's why we got to vote for them. Look what William Wallace did in the world.
There you
Right?
go.
Look how they're making movies about him 500 years later because he was a warrior poet, an intellectual, amazingly studied scholar. Yet he would get bloody in war and talk to the people exactly at their peasant level. And that's why he had a nation move with him. So
Amen.
that's it's kind of what I see in just your language, your dialect. Let me ask you this. What'd your wife say about you making this decision to enter this dirty world of
Well,
politics?
yeah, I've been a warrior monk for since 2012. So I've kind of sans relationships because it's hard. I lost a marriage, but I still have a best friend in my ex-wife, and I was gone for a long time. She went back home, went back to doing, she was a family practice doctor, and she does a great job, and love her to death. On my own, but I have a fiance, and so I actually, what does she say about it? She loves watching. This is her words. She enjoys watching people fall in love with somebody that's authentic. You will use that word, and so that's her perception. It's what she says, because you. I spoke the other day after 5 or 6 professional politicians. Right, they're all there. Great hair, perfect teeth, no Copenhagen in their teeth. It's okay. They don't have to dip, but hair is perfect, coiffed. I come in with my cowboy hat on, and it's an Atwood that I bought for $30, and it's still got probably a little cow crap on it from touching it after I was working. But it's a legitimate hat. It's what I wear. I don't change anything about me, not on purpose to be obstinate. It's just I'm going 100 miles an hour, and I forget, and I grab my cowboy hat, walk in, and they're like,
It's truth. That's what it
yeah,
is,
it's
Pete.
true.
It's truth.
Yeah, I
It's
mean, my
truth.
boots got spurs marks on them. I mean, I wore those with those same boots on the border. But the point is that when I got there and I got off stage, and I didn't have a clue what I was going to say because they told me, well, you're not an incumbent, so we're going to give you 5 minutes. They all got 20 minutes. So they gave me 5 minutes at the very end. Now I'm running for the senior public servant in the state of Texas, right? That's what I call it. And so I get there and they're like, okay, 5 minutes, I'll do it. It's in Rockwall, if you know where that is. And so it's over there in Rockwall.
I
Good
wish I'd have
people.
known that.
Yeah,
It's
good
nearby
people.
here. It's only
Oh,
40
really?
minutes from here. I would have been there if I would
Dang.
have known that.
Oh, yeah.
You get in this area again. You
Oh,
call
yeah, I'll be
me.
back. Yeah, we'll be back.
I'll be there.
Yeah, we've been
Yeah.
we've been
Okay.
invited to come back. So I get out there, we do this thing, lots of nice hair, nice teeth, great stories, lots of blustering, I'm Super MAGA, I'm Mr. Super MAGA, I'm more MAGA, and I'm like, what does that really mean? It's a definition. I don't know what that means, but it doesn't matter. I'm not running for their position. So they gave me 10 minutes. Last minute, they said, okay, we've got a few extra minutes, so you can take 10 minutes. So, you can go a little longer. So, okay, so I got to do my 10 minutes. And, I don't know. I could tell that the crowd was moved because when I get up, I just say, God, just show me their hearts and show me how you see them and help me to love them. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I'm a dude. And there are times when I'm driving down the highway and there's a lot of people I don't love, right? And I have to control that because I've got that, that fighter instinct. So I do. I'm 60. I can control it now. But I'm not generally the one that thinks that way walking into a crowd. But I do now because it helps me to see when I'm talking, is this making sense? Are they getting it? Is this something that they don't like? They might be going, whoa. And then I usually do about half my time in discussion. And the reason I do it is I cut my time in half and I say, now I want questions. Because if I don't know how you feel, then how am I going to tell what your problems are, right? What do you need? I know what it is in the RGV. I was down on the border for a long time in Rio Grande Valley. I know what it is in Hill Country. That's where I live. I know what it is on the Red River because that's where all my family is. But I got to understand you. So then I do half that. Now you're going to get somebody in the audience that is going to be fired up. And they're going to say, well, what are you going to do about school vouchers? I'm a school teacher and this is what I believe. And I'll say, what's your name? Give your name on the side over here. You're going to go on the Citizens Task Force for Education. Because if you're that passionate, I want you on that task force. I need you on that task force. You'll make the decisions. Give me the so what, bottom line up front. I need 3 courses of action. We'll make a decision because I'm an action guy. Boom, done deal. So I've got lists of people now ready to go on these different tasks. We're 500 right now around the state that are interested in helping out. That's about where we're at. So we'll be able to then quickly go to work and say, all right, we're getting right to the, as we say in the cattle business, the nut cutting. We're going to start making steers out of this business, but we've got to get to work real quick. And so that is why I enjoy going out and seeing that, and that's what Lydia says. I enjoy watching people just go, wow, okay, not a politician. I mean, it's what I get most of the time. So I'm like, yeah, I'm just a soldier. I'm a public servant, a centurion, if you will.
Are you, with what you're seeing out there? I think these are probably somewhat revelations for you. They'd be for me too. Are you seeing? Um, Are you seeing something unusual or different in the people, in like this frequency, energy, the excitement because they've got a guy who's not a politician like Trump? Are you seeing that there's this engagement from the people when you're talking to these
Oh yeah,
crowds?
oh yeah.
Enthusiasm? Is
Yes,
it
and
is it
and
inspiring?
yeah, yes, it does inspire, and it can inspire you from far away. We're all So what are we? 75% water, and there's moisture in between us, and there's wavelengths and things that take place. With the electromagnetic frequencies of life, and all these things are connected to some way to another. So whether it's happening in Houston and they're watching, or whether it's happening over here, and I'm going to make sure I'm plugged in for power. Just don't want to lose y'all. Okay, there we go. We're plugged back in. So whatever that, whatever we call that, they say emotions is energy and motion. Okay, so high energy is good emotion, lower energy. I can feel it. I can sense it immediately in a crowd, and it's energetic. It's the same thing as I could imagine. I've not been to a Trump rally, but I did go to watch Jimmy Buffett once, something like that. That energy, right? I mean,
Yeah,
it's like you can feel that energy coming as it's people are waiting for him to get up on stage. I'm not a big concert guy, but
that'll get rid of our
that's
static.
yeah. There's energy. Yeah, yeah. There's just a lot of good energy. Negative energy. Hey, don't put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. That's what I always say.
I was going to ask you what's the downside of what you've experienced? Any downsides of this track so far?
Yeah. I mean, it's hurtful, and it doesn't. I was never issued emotions as a young soldier, so I don't. It doesn't make me cry, But I hate to see when I'm working so hard to try to free people that that the Stockholm syndrome is so bad. So, guys
Mm,
know what Stockholm syndrome. It's not cognitive dissonance. People, armchair doctors and psychiatrists talk about cognitive dissonance. It's not that. That is the minimization
mm,
of something. That's me saying, "Hey, I like to dip, but I only dip 1 can a week instead of 5 cans a week." No, that's cognitive dissonance. Stockholm syndrome is a captured audience, essentially. So when we used to do hostage rescue, and we had to become prisoners for on training, and we became prisoners, and we got beat up and all that. So you start to assimilate with your captors because they give you stuff to survive. Period. All right. So we did something bad to you, COVID. We gave you something to survive. You can stand 6 feet apart. Okay, now you can go to church. We'll let you go now. Okay, now you can do this. We'll let you do this. Oh, now you can do that. So now they've given you back. So now you're kissing the ring of the meant. And now when you come back and you say, okay, I'll give you a little bit more. But now you were bad. I'm going to slap you on the wrist. So anything that anything leading towards, um, I, informational control, IDs, things like that, things to be able to track you, like we contact tracing and tracking. Remember that? All right. So that's when
mm.
it started. So we can trace you, we can follow you, we can track you, we can control you. We got to get out of that Stockholm syndrome. So the thing that I see is when I speak to somebody that's still in that world with the scales on their eyes of Stockholm syndrome, and they say, "Well, you're a grifter because you lived in a trailer, RV trailer, for the past 8 years of your life." Yeah, I did. I did. I was working on Operation Lone Star and around the state in different parts, driving around working for you. And rather than spend the taxpayers' money staying in hotels, I stayed in my trailer. It was actually more comfortable. So you can say
Mhm.
whatever you want about it, but it's, oh, he's a grifter. Oh, he's a vagabond. He lives in a trailer. And I say, well, 40% of the people in Texas can't afford a house right now because of taxes. So I guess they would relate more with me than they would with, I'm not saying anything's wrong with having a home. I've had a
That's
home.
great.
Yeah. I had a beautiful home when I was married, and we had, and I gave it to my wife because she, we had a son, and I'm not going to take it away from her. I'm not going to even argue about it. I go start a new career. I'm good. But that's people make assumptions, and then you become that evil person that they want you to be because you don't fit in their norm of what a politician should be. The perfect, like I said, coiffed hair and black, silver tongued. Let me give you a warning. Because I worked on Capitol Hill, I worked directly for the Speaker's office in D.C. for a while, and I can tell you
Hmm.
that somebody that you meet that can eloquently silver tongue, I'm going to say silver tongued devils, beware, beware. Lots of nice hair, tall, good looking, great teeth, silver tongued. Watch out. Watch out. Yeah.
Hey,
That
guys,
that
listen, I this is Kerry. I don't know if you can hear me, but if you
Yeah.
can, just
Yeah.
watching, and you guys, you sound great, and nice to meet you. But I got to go because I didn't. This
Uh,
was unexpected that I'm just sitting here listening, so there's no reason for me to stay
okay.
on the screen. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna go. All right, but thank you,
Ca-
Scott, for today.
Carrie, my apologies. Thank
Nice
you
to
so
meet
much
you.
for
Sound
coming
like
on, Carrie.
an authentic candidate, and I don't live in Texas, but I'd vote for you
Okay.
based on what you're
Thank you,
saying.
ma'am.
Okay, so
Get
take
some
care.
rest. Have a great
All
night.
right, all right, take care. Bye bye.
Much love, Carrie. Much love, Carrie. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for coming in. I'm gonna tell you something. If Carrie Cassidy says that to you, Pete, and knowing what Carrie knows and how she is about this whole machine, you just got the compliment of all compliments right there. Her saying, "I would vote for you."
I've heard her
That's
name
that's
before. I
pretty
just
impressive.
first time I got to meet her, so it's great.
Well, she is one of the bravest people out there. She's a battle axe in this war against this whole, the
Machine.
non-reality construct they built to entrap us and enslave us. Every aspect of this architecture, she's as forward as anybody that I know. And I wanted to weave in questions eventually with her on you, but I guess it took quite a bit of time there because we went over a bit
Yeah.
with her. So a question I have for you, um, when you become governor, in the first year, somewhere in the probably, somewhere about the first year mark, will you commit to coming back on Patriot Street Fighter here in this channel and give my audience the assessment of what you've seen in
Oh,
your first year as
absolutely.
governor and what your challenges are?
Absolutely. This is where the rubber meets the road. When we're meeting normal people that live in this bell curve of, a common sense party, if we want to call it that. Um,
Hmm.
so this is the place where I will be, and I will also do as governor probably weekly situation reports. So I'll get on my phone and just do it by myself driving down the road, or getting in a helicopter chasing terrorists around the border as a governor with the task force. I'm not going to sit in the governor's mansion because I've already said if we do make it, I'm moving my trailer over to the governor's mansion and staying in there. And I'm going to let great citizens of the state of Texas be able to come and stay in the governor's mansion to let them share in that. So people that have done things for the state. It's not my intention to live any higher than I ever needed to. My intention is to fix this so that I can get out with term limits and give it to somebody else after I've smashed all the broken parts, and then fix them, build them back up. 2 years, I mean, 2 terms at the most. I just can't, I won't do that because I always go with the Davy Crockett model on that one. He was in D.C., and it's something I actually said in D.C. to
Yeah.
some congressmen, and he did a couple terms as a Tennessee congressman. And then he went to the Alamo, and he died at the Alamo in
Yeah.
1836. And so for me, when he left D.C., he said, y'all can go to hell. I'm going to Texas. So I said that to some congressmen. I was up there lobbying to get rid of the shots. I was trying to get rid of those shots, going up and down the Hart and Longworth building, talking to him, saying, I would ask him one question that Louis Gohmert taught me and asked me to ask him. Louis was a real man, real deal. And I
Love
said,
Louis.
yeah. I said, this is a Louis test. Have you, Congressman, Senator, did you invest in Pfizer or Moderna before COVID was a thing? And because they knew
Whoa.
me, right? But they knew me because I was there
Whoa.
lobbying before as a soldier. Now I was out of military,
Right.
and I asked that question. Oh, no, of course not. No. But we can
Whoa.
look up, investments. But it made them nervous. And I used to talk to people in Guantanamo Bay for 6 months of my life, and so I know when somebody's peeing on my leg and tell me it's raining, especially when they're congressmen, because it's usually when their lips are moving. But there's some good ones out there too. So when we went, going up and down, trying to find out the truth, I learned that it really as I was paying attention to what they were, the day they became a congressman or senator was the day that they started campaigning for their next, 2 years or 4 years, whenever their cycle's
Exactly. They
up.
start fundraising, right? That's all they do is
Bingo,
fundraise, 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 fund.
bingo, because
In
they
fact, they're
want that
told,
war
hold on a
chest.
second. I know you're idealistic. Sit down, shut up, get on the phone, get your list, and start raising money for that next election. You'll vote how we tell you. People don't
Right.
think that, they don't believe me when I say that. Am I right? That's how it's done when you get to be a freshman in Congress.
100%. I saw it, and this is the other
Mhm.
thing I saw, is people now coming to me and saying, I will give you money with your campaign, but I'm going to need you to do this and this and this. And they start right away. And this one beautiful lady, who was sweet as could be when she first talked to me, she started doing that. She started telling me where to be, what time, you need to do this, you need to do that. And I said, ma'am, let me be honest with you, I'm not going to take any money because this is how rhinos get started. And I just can't do it. Because I've got to set the pattern. You can't, remember this. This is something I'm going to teach your audience, and you may know this one already, but when I'm looking at somebody and I think that I'm doing counterintelligence, I'm trying to figure out why did they flip? Why did they flip on us? So we're downrange, and somebody that was working with us, now he's flipped. Okay, 4 reasons. MICE: money, ideology, coercion, and ego. Money, ideology, coercion, ego. It's one of them. Now we all got an ego. I got it. But for me in my world, we're taught to exude confidence, demonstrate competence, right? You may mistake that for ego, but that's exactly what we are. We are just going to demonstrate it, and sometimes some ego comes out. It's just life. But I try to keep it under control. Ideology. Now my ideology, my Lord and Savior. But does that mean I'm perfect? No. All right, I'm not perfect by any means. We were never expected to be perfect. We can only be perfect in one reason only. So ideology. My ideology is that, right? It's this nation, it's my God and this nation, these constitutions, the state and federal. I'm a states' rights guy, so I'm gonna put that first. States created the federal government, so you can't be superior to us. We created you
Hmm.
for certain enumerated powers, and then that's I. Coercion. Okay, they got pictures of you. You did something bad. Oh, now they coerce you, and then ego. So and money. It's I've got enough to survive on, and I'll continue to be paid the rest of my life. I served. I got my full disability. Because I didn't land properly and parachute a few times. It was my fault, but I still get paid for it. So yeah.
And you should. Some just rung out in my head. I think one of the things tonight here that defined me or defined you to me, you're best friends with your ex-wife.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. We are. Yeah, yeah. She's a
That I
good
love
lady.
because
Yeah,
that's important. In
yeah.
the state of the matrix mentality, when two people separate or split up, more often than not, it's lifelong warfare or
Yeah.
reductionism of the other party, and those things like that. I run into people from time to time that they end up getting divorced, but they're best friends, better friends when they were married, and sometimes they go off and marry others, and they come together as friends and travel together. Things like, to me, that just lightens my that just I'm overwhelmed, at the heart chakra when I hear things like that. I'm like, this is the way it's supposed to be. That we're supposed to
You
have
know,
this.
yeah. Somebody
You
asked
know what
me,
I'm
one of the
saying?
people on the campaign, they said, somebody was a strategist, if you will. He said, "Do you have an ex-wife?" And I said, "Yeah." Okay, now, what is she going to say about you if the media calls? And I said, so I called her up and she said, "I will tell him that you are the most patriotic, hard fighting man that I've ever met in my life because you volunteered for every mission that came along, even if you didn't have to go, you went." She said, "You were married to the military. I love you, but I can't deal with that life. I have my life,"
Hmm.
because she's a family doctor and she had to set up a practice, and I understand it. We have a beautiful son together, and he's an amazing man. He wants to be a Green Beret himself. I don't know why, but he wants to. But it's okay.
Yeah.
But I fully respect and love her to death. And that's to me when I see
Mm.
people that do that, just like you, it catches my attention. Like, wow, because most of my friends are like, "How do you do that? How do you call her and just talk to her like normal?" And I'm like, "I'd go to dinner if I was up there and sit down with her. She needed something, I'd come running. Yeah, she's a good person. Yeah,
Well, I'm just sitting here watching, listening to you now for an hour and 15 minutes, and obviously you've made an impression on me. I'll tell you right out that that's hard to do. It's hard to impress me, and also I think you're impressing the ethers out there, because my audience will tell you the same. We've been sitting here watching these extra dimensional orbs like cruising through your screen. They're buzzing around you, and I think when there's good favor, the good entities out there are circling. I just saw another. It just keeps happening. Like,
mm,
I think they're liking what they're hearing too from this guy. So I think there's some good favor of the universe shining down on you
I'll take it,
with
brother.
what you're trying to accomplish here. Yeah. Well, listen. I kept both you and Kerry over time tonight. We definitely want to have you back, and I can tell you, you've got my eye on your candidacy now, and anything we can do here to help. You just let me know, but I got to give you the same fair warning that I've given all the other people that I've supported in different races in this country since I started Patriot Street Fighter. I'm with you. I hope we get there. If we can help, we will. But I will say this: you take steps in the wrong direction, what we've seen consistently our whole lives, Patriot Street Fighter will be your worst nightmare.
Yeah.
You'd rather have a C-130 gunship headed over to your place right now than have me go full blown Patriot Street Fighter. So,
You know what? I
but
will. I will join you on that, and that is a. There's a certain code of ethics that we live by, and if we don't live by it, then what are we? And so for me, that's the kind of things that I. What you remember? This guy named Marcus Aurelius. He was a great writer. Back an emperor, right? And the
yes, he
one thing I
was.
remember hearing about him was he was an emperor, but a lot of those people believed that they were gods, small g gods. Well,
Mhm.
He had somebody stand behind him. This is a story, it may not be true, but I heard this. He had someone stand behind him and said, "You're still just a man. You're still just a man." So for me, whether, I won't need somebody to tell me I'm a man. I know I'm not a god, but there needs to be the reality check of like, look, bro, like, settle down. Because I tried to do that with some like my friends in politics, and it didn't work. They went off the deep end, unfortunately.
Hmm. Yeah, and I remember once I was probably 27, 28 years old. I was getting ready to walk on this stage. It's probably about 700, 800 people in the auditorium, and they were there to hear my story, and I was doing kind of a motivational thing. And one of my mentors backstage, kind of the guy that he's sort of the the umbrella of all
Mm-hmm.
these events that were going on, and he just leaned over to me and he goes, "You realize they're taught to clap for you, right? You realize that?" And I said, "What?" He goes, "You realize when you walk out there and this clapping, when you come on a stage, you realize they're taught to do that, right?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, I know." Well, what he was doing was he was trying to keep me. It was his effort to keep me humble,
Ah,
because you walk out on a stage, and I watch this happen. Well, with anybody who walks into a public situation where they're speaking to small, large crowds, whatever it is. And I
mm-hmm.
saw this when I was young, because I started to do some public speaking, small, just incidental things in the fitness wellness industry when I
Yeah,
was right out of high school going to college. And of course, through an unknown track in my life, it ended up being, I was 27, standing on stage in front of 10,000 people at Philadelphia Convention Center. And fortunately for me, I've been grounded. I never bought my own press, and that's the problem.
there
Is
you go.
people buy their own press, they start to believe what other people in their so-called audience tell them, all the beautiful things they say, and people buy into it, and you watch that ego grow. And for me, I mean, I tell them, look, I love, it's flattering when you say that, but I know most of what you think isn't true. I know, because I live with me every day. I wake
You
up in the
know you.
morning, and the things that I do,
Yeah,
I can tell you, I'm there every day. So the reality of it is, I've just watched so many people buy into that bullshit. Yeah, you're the greatest. I hear it myself. Um, and that's the
yeah,
devil himself at your door with a smile. I got him. He is loving this shit. He loves how people are circling around him, and you know what I mean. And again, it comes back to, and I've tried to do this with my audience, the respectful side, the beautiful side, as we make a connection. I love it.
right.
It makes me feel good. But the better I feel, the more I can reach out and touch your soul and let you know how beautiful and important you are. It's the only
That's it.
thing I know
Yeah,
about my soul. It's the only thing I know that brings this planet into the balance that God wanted for it. And all of that comes with being in the public form or public space, it's beautiful, it's empowering, it's certainly soul elevating.
mm-hmm.
But if people can maintain the balance in terms of, how do I use this to help the people believe in themselves, not in me, but in themselves, because
Themselves.
and I explain to people, with our Constitution,
Mm-hmm.
and the founders are sitting here at this table, and it's being written, and all the ideas that came from those 19 days. And so as they decide to create this document, and they take the first three words are this big, right?
Mm-hmm.
They could have made any other words in there this big, but they created a document that's going to go into history. And those three words say what? We the
Uh,
people. It's
People.
not we the government. It's not we the anything else. And it's not even God. It's we the people.
Order to form.
There's where the period is, or the exclamation point, and that's where it ends. All of nothing else need to be written
Mm-hmm.
like those three words. And if
That's it.
everybody, even in the podcast world, right? I've seen in the podcast world, I get pissed. because you got these podcasters fighting each other, attacking each other, and all this bullshit. It's like you just fell right into it. You're probably
You
too
fell
far
into the
down the street.
dialectic.
Fell
Yeah,
into it.
and
You
a lot
just
of these are
lost.
ops, and a lot of these are ops that other people are creating. And so when you fall into those
Mhm.
ops, it's because you got emotional, you went over the top, your ego took over, whatever it is, whatever the thing is. You got to get beyond those ops and get, and truly, I tell people, look, it's not me running for you. Like, I'm not running for this position to be governor. I'm a senior public servant, but it's actually we, by, and for. It's you guys will win this, right? The 3rd of March
Mhm.
is a primary day. The 2nd of March is, the Independence Day of Texas. But if it's truly what I say it is, then it's the 3rd of March is Liberation Day, because that's the day that you'll be liberated from this matrix that you're in, but not completely, because it's a federal one. But for me and mine, and these, from the Rio Grande to the Red, from El Paso to Beaumont, that's my area of operations, and so we'll fix that. But then it's going to be a whole nother fight against the feds. But my job is to interpose against them, not against them, but to keep that overreach from coming here. I'm going to say, you got your enumerated powers. Stay right there, brother Trump. Love you to death, but stay right there. That's where we're stopping.
Mhm.
Because I'm not enamored by anything. I've met all these people up there. I've done security for him, outer ring security. That doesn't enamor
Mhm.
me. What enamors me is when I see a kid go down range, give his life, or lose his limbs, and then come back, get in a wheelchair, go to New York City, speak on stage, get the Medal of Honor awarded. This is a true story. Marine jumping on a grenade, and then tells the cab driver says, "Thank you for your service." And the kid goes, the Marine with no legs goes, "You're worth it, sir." Now that's who enamors me, right? That's who enamors me. That's the things I learn. So I don't care about taking a picture with a politician or any of them. Most of them, I don't even ever want to be seen with. But I have to be in this world now, so I will. Yeah.
Well, brother, I got much love for you already. I'm so glad that we got
Yeah, I'm so glad
connected
we got
to
a
bring
chance.
you on
Yeah.
this show, and
Yeah,
we're
just
we're
it's
going to
kind of
bring you.
nice because the end of the night, kind of tired, but it was great because it was a nice relax. I'm sorry I'm sitting here having a shiner, but it's just one of those days.
You know what? I was going to ask you about that. I'm like, you just got a shit ton of votes because you are trying to be nobody but a Texan, and
Give a damn.
you're drinking a beer. Listen, if you're going to drink a beer on a podcast, Patriot Street Fighter is a place to do it
I guess we
because
did okay. Well, that's why I texted you say I'm going to be relaxed if that's okay.
man, I just fell in love with you, brother. This is look. You
Oh,
just inspired
come
Tomahawk.
here,
You
Joe.
just inspired Tomahawk too.
Come here, buddy. Up,
Take
up,
it
up,
out.
up, 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 up,
Yep.
up, up,
Look,
up. Here's Joe.
look, look. See, look. Okay.
That's funny.
what a
Joe's
way!
hanging out
What a
with
way
me.
to end! What a
Yeah,
way
Joe's
to end the
hanging out with
show,
me.
man.
All right, bro, brother.
Well,
God
listen, brother.
bless, and we'll link up again.
Yeah, and ladies and gentlemen, that is Doc Pete Chambers, former Special Forces medic, medical doctor, and many other things in this world. And now he's running for governor of Texas. I am throwing the weight of my Patriot Street Fighter Nation behind this guy. I want you to follow me here in Texas. Anything you can do for Pete Chambers' campaign here for the governor of Texas, I'm recommending putting some time in because I know I'm going to. Sir, thank you for your service, and we'll be
You're
back
worth
in
it, brother.
touch. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Pete Chambers for Tomahawk and myself. With that, it's a wrap. Patriot Street Fighter out.